And we
chips.
are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Index Podcast number 6. Sweet's already eating food. I'm Kuro,
I'm Sweet. Hello.
and we have our special guest, Jax, and
Hello.
Azzy today instead of Ron. Ron's been having PC issues today, unfortunately. So we have Azzy. Azzy, welcome back. Good to see you. Thanks for coming back on such short notice. Were you driving home when we asked you to come on?
Yeah, I was at my favorite Italian restaurant, and I drove home seeing your message.
Oh yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home now. I'm not gonna go get boba or anything else.
Wow, ruining boba plans.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You can still
sorry.
get some afterwards. Let's
Sorry,
go.
short notice podcast duties call when it comes to overriding your boba privileges. What kind of boba tea do you get when you go?
Just the milk tea. Just usually the milk tea, or I'll get like mango. Mango lychee.
Mango.
That
Taro's
sounds
my favorite.
good.
You guys like taro?
I love taro.
Yes.
Taro.
Yeah.
Taro
Taro's
is
like the
good.
best.
Is it?
Or
Yeah,
taro,
that's-
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Taro.
taro or taro. That's like my favorite. I feel like I've never had like an actual taro like in front of me, just only in like the liquid form. It's like a sweet potato, right?
Yeah.
I think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
a
When
purple
somebody
sweet
told me
potato.
that, I was like, what the heck? It's a potato?
Yeah, it
It's
is
like a purple potato, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like an upscale sweet potato, like a more refined sweet
Yeah,
potato.
it's a more refined sweet potato.
Which is funny because I love taro, but I hate sweet potatoes. Can't stand sweet
You like sweet
potatoes.
potatoes?
What?
I
Really?
don't
Sweet
mind
potato
that.
fries at restaurants?
No,
That's like the
oh
freaking
God, I
thing to
can't- I
do.
Mm-mm.
So, how was everyone's
That's
week? How was everyone's week? What'd you guys do? How was everyone's work week? I guess if you had work or whatever.
Oh. Freaking
I mean,
busy.
yeah. I mean,
Busy?
my work has been pretty chill, but I streamed for the first time since
I
2000.
saw. How did that feel?
Yeah.
How did that feel coming back?
It actually went pretty naturally. I gotta say, I was really nervous before starting, but then I don't know. Once it was like we're going again, then it was fine, and then it's just like natural.
I was so like I know you probably heard it from everybody, but I was so like accustomed to you like being on stream always. So when
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you like to come on the show, I was like gonna go to your stream and ask you. I was like, oh wait, he's not streaming. And then today I was gonna when I like messaged you this morning to like, remind you,
Yeah.
I was like gonna turn on your stream to see if you were there, but you
Oh
freaking
my
weren't.
God, that's so funny, yeah.
twice that happened to me,
You
and I was
can
like,
just pop in chat. Oh,
yeah.
it feels bad.
I was adjusting back to like regular life. How's that
Yeah.
feeling?
Well, the last like week like was really nice for that because the first day like off stream was like, whoa, like I can just do like whatever, which is like seems like normal, like obviously that's normal.
Right.
But like when you're like constantly on and like thinking about what you're doing for stream like next or like I don't know what you can and can't do, then like it's just I don't know, it's like it's switching a switch. Just I don't know.
I remember
Your
the one thing-
expectations change.
You said you wanted to like watch movies like so many
Yeah.
times throughout the thing. You're like, I wish I
Yeah,
could just
yeah.
binge
Yeah.
watch like freaking.
I actually
While you're
haven't
doing
yet,
something.
but I have been
Oh.
planning watching.
Yeah,
some
not being able
stuff.
to watch shows is probably the worst part. Like not being able to watch
Yeah.
like well, I mean you can watch YouTube, but like for me like I like so I didn't watch YouTube really. Like I would what I would do is actually like mute my desktop sounds while I was like sleeping and like watch videos like that I could just like randomly scroll
Yeah.
through because like I'd feel
Yeah,
bad if
for
I was just
sure.
scrolling through videos like and chat was like having to watch me just scroll through like you
Yeah,
normally do when you
yeah.
watch YouTube.
Mhm.
How has like the motivation been after you were done everything? Because I know a common thing that
Oh,
happens
yeah.
with people that like not like only get partnered but like do like really huge things like that. I notice a lot of like motivation usually like kinds of fizzles out or like whatever. How have like you been handling that?
I haven't been like I put my expectations for myself down a little bit, where it was kind of just like what I was doing on stream wasn't that grandiose anyway. It was
Right.
pretty typical stuff. It just feels like a big thing that happened. So I need to like mentally like I've been like not pushing myself to have this high standard anymore. It's like I'll just turn it on and just see whatever happens. So
Kind of like just
That's
getting
been
back
alright.
into the groove again.
yeah, like if it's just like stale moments where nothing's happening, it's just like I don't know, whatever. Not like feel bad about it, because I have to get back in that like mindset of like what am I
Right.
doing like.
Does it feel any different like being partnered versus like how it was when you were like unpartnered?
I don't think so. I don't even think about it really.
Mm.
Like it's definitely there and the benefits are there, but you know, I feel the same.
I feel
There's
like
nothing really different.
when I was like kind of like in the mentality of like being able to potentially achieve it, I think the idea of like the pressure of like seeing like your number was probably like the worst part. And I feel
Yeah.
like once you get partnered, like that whole like pressure of like having to be above a specific number or like
That
any
pressure
kind of
is
that like
gone,
that. Yeah, I feel like that
which is really
probably weighs
nice.
on a lot of people
Like I
who are
don't want
like
to
within the range.
like I don't want to like rub it in, but like
No,
it
no,
is
please rub it
really.
in. No, go ahead. Yeah, we're only just sitting next to 3 people who are not partnered. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like it's there's like
That sounds good,
it's not like
right?
anything changes. Yeah, it feels
Right,
all right.
right.
It's not like
Yeah.
anything changes after you get past that goal. Like it's just just very
Do you still
subtle
feel
like
the pressure to
benefits.
like be in the
I do
range?
feel I do feel pressure to not like lose the momentum that I got to get partner. I do
Mm.
feel that kind of pressure.
Right, I got you. So, like, so
Like
you can keep
stay where I
growing to
was.
keep.
Yeah,
Right.
I keep
Okay.
growing.
All right.
But I
I
mean, that's
see.
like what everybody's sort of has on their mind. So I haven't been worrying about it too much. And, if it's just what it is. So
Gotcha. Well, it's good.
yeah.
Honestly, it's good. It's good to have you back in like the streaming world and the streamverse. I'm surprised you only took like a week or so, right? It was around a week that you took off.
Yeah, I was having streaming withdrawals. I was like wanting to turn on my stream at like 3 a.m. and just say hi. So
Mm.
it was
Oh my
nice to come back
gosh.
eventually.
What's the
Yeah.
longest break you guys have
I had to
taken,
stop myself.
like from stream in general?
Maybe like 2 weeks for like holidays.
2 weeks? Wait, Yazzie.
Yeah.
For
What's
me,
what's like the longest break you've taken from streams?
so I started streaming back in 2018 with a really scuffed PC setup,
Right.
and I took like 2 years actually off completely because I was focusing on like going pro in a game and also
Mhm.
like trying to finish school and doing a sport. So I had like 4 things on my plate at the time. So that's the reason why I took that break. But
Mm.
coming back, it was really rough because you lose that momentum and you lose that motivation at the beginning because you kind of lose some viewers and your community kind of like dies off if it takes
Yeah,
two
it's much harder to
years to come
rebuild
back.
than it is
Yeah.
anything. Like rebuilding like whatever community you had like before when you take I always say like one day in like the stream world. Same with like VRChat. One day is like a week, basically.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah,
skip a
feels like
day,
it.
it's proportionally like a week more like
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Sweet? How long have you been taking? What's the longest break you had?
Probably like a week or so.
Mm.
Even like I did horror, like my last stream, and it feels like I haven't danced in like a long time. But I gotta remember, like I did horror, so like even if you do different things, like your audience still sees you doing these different things. But I feel like I need to dance like at least once every couple weeks, just to like just to
Mm.
be out there and stuff.
Right.
I don't know, it's
Where do
interesting,
you guys
like a nagging feeling.
Where do you guys stand on the whole? Because what you said kind of reminded me of something. But where do you guys stand on the whole? Like, I think probably what a lot of people would want to hear because there's always these people out there who are like wanting to get into streaming, but like are afraid of like a specific set of things, whether it's like being validated or like maybe they're afraid of like trolls or they're afraid of my leg was flying or afraid of not succeeding or stuff like that. Where do you stand in the whole? I want to stream when I want to stream versus I want to stream in line with meta, if that makes sense. Kind of like where you have to stick with one game because consistency is like the most important thing when it comes to streaming, like game, time of day, all that stuff. Versus like more like someone who is more like lackadaicious when it comes to streaming. Where do you think that you have to follow a specific pattern to grow your stream?
I'd say like being strategic definitely helps and like having a schedule.
That's a good
and,
word for
like,
it, strategic. I like that.
Yeah, I mean putting I mean, there's good. Everyone who wants to grow as a streamer should put in some kind of strategy into it.
Right.
But I think being a casual streamer is also totally valid. You just can't put the pressure on yourself of being like, trying to pop off as fast as possible because that's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like a lot of people when they like start streaming, they think like that they have to like conform to like a specific algorithm or pattern or to grow their stream because I think a lot of people what I wanted to do was actually set up like a yes or no system and ask you guys a bunch of these yes or no questions when it comes to like streaming because I'm actually interested to see some of your guys' opinions. But when you think about streaming. A lot of people like to throw the word like luck around when it comes to like their channel being viewed or their channel growing and stuff like that. Because if you think about it, there's X times 50 amount of streamers that do just chatting VRChat stuff, right? Or talk up in front of their camera. Um, and then the people always kind of like say like, oh, well, they're all kind of the same people. And, you know, it all depends on who clicks on your stream and stuff like that. But is there a formula that someone follows that grows their stream? Or, because I think a lot of us have experienced where like you do like your main game, right? Whatever your main game is, right? And you go to a different game and your viewership, you know, your viewership changes, right? Depending on kind of where you go on. Have you guys like experienced that, and like how does it make you feel like as a streamer?
For me, I could say the one thing about moving to a different game is because I actually did it. I went from Tarkov to VR, and sometimes games will pop off depending on what you choose and what your community actually wants to see as well. But at the same time, it's also what you have to enjoy. Because I went from Tarkov is because I
Mm.
love Tarkov, but I moved to VR because I was like, I have a VR headset and I have everything I want to try, and VR was like something I really wanted to get into in the beginning. So it lines up. I said, okay, I'm gonna move to VRChat, stop streaming Tarkov because it's one way to grow, and the community's a lot smaller and than Tarkov in the beginning. But at the same time, I did VR, grew my community, but I streamed like CS:GO. It was like completely different.
Mm.
People didn't want to see this game, and some people really came to see you actually just chatting or talking like what we usually do in the beginning. um, because you know your set community here kind of just wants to see, you know, your avatar. They want to hear stories about like what happened in the beginning. So it kind of discourages me to actually stream a different game, is because it's not because the numbers, because more like there's not a lot of engagements when you're playing a game that you actually have to put more focus on than your
Mm.
chat. That's why it kind of discourages me
That's
when I
why, yeah, I think that's why
see
I don't
that.
like playing Apex. Like I used to play a lot of Apex, and that was
Mhm.
like my main reason. Because when I'm playing Apex, it's like so, it's not particularly the game, right? That's like
Mhm.
thwarting viewership, but it's the fact that I couldn't do what I like would normally do, which is like
Yeah.
talk and interact and stuff, and it like really gated me from like being able to, I guess, interact. And I know there's probably tons of Apex streamers out there who like are still good at talking in their chat, but
Mhm.
for me, it kind of felt like I was like kind of setting myself backwards. If that makes sense. It's not that I don't like love Apex, but I don't love Apex in that particular setting. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like it's a game I want to play, but not in that kind of setting. I guess is like a way I looked at it. I don't know. So you play like a bunch of random things when you
Mhm.
stream. I think you take streaming a
Yeah,
little like less.
I
I don't say like a
felt.
serious, but like in less more of like
Mhm.
a strategic business way, right?
Right. I definitely want to enjoy my time more. Like I played horror for the first time in a couple months, and I'm like, there was one point where I was just like failing over and over to do something because that's how a lot of horror games are, and I was like, am I? Do I need to like stop? And it felt weird because I'm just used to dancing, and I was just like, is the audience enjoying this? And I started to get a little nervous and like,
Right, where you're like
Yeah,
kind of at a
always
point where like
stuff,
you're
frustrating.
not
you
enjoying
know?
your own stream, right?
Frustrated.
Yeah,
Because I feel like
Yeah.
do you guys watch back your own stream and just like ever like be like, oh, this is not entertaining. Like I don't know, I did that to me some like myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I'm really hard on myself sometimes. I know I think every content creator is. I think it's like part of the job, to be like your own
Mm-hmm.
critic. But I feel like I don't like when I watch something of my own and I like don't enjoy it, or like I feel like you
Mm-hmm.
should know when you enjoy your own streams, right? Like
Yeah.
you know. It's like tasting your own
Yeah.
food. You should like it and stuff like that.
what I've told myself to like justify like when things like that happen, where like I keep failing and I'm like not getting anywhere and I just feel like bad,
Mm-hmm.
is chat is like really patient and they want to see you succeed, and you're
Right.
like just more critical of yourself because you want to be doing something new every like
Mm-hmm.
minute.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But from like a viewer's perspective, they're just like sitting there, just like waiting, like hoping, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
yeah.
that's just what I tell myself to like, you know, keep myself optimistic.
What do you guys do to
while I
keep
stream.
being in like the same? Because do you ever guys ever have those moments where like you catch yourself either saying the same thing that you said before, like 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago, or like even last stream ago, or like doing the same exact thing you've already done? Do you ever like feel I guess like in a rut, if that makes sense?
Not necessarily, because like the majority of the times, like if I tell a story, like if you tell a story once, you're most likely gonna tell that story again.
Mm,
And it's every stream is also different because there's also new people coming in that have never heard your story.
right.
And for like the people like that watch us, they want to hear these stories. And if it's something that they really enjoyed, they're gonna hear it again and again and again, and that's what they want to hear. Um, it's kind of interesting, but it does kind of make me be more like, okay, I already said this last stream. I'll wait for like a week, then I'll say it. But sometimes I just go with the flow because I see there's more people coming in that's new and different. I'll just tell the story one more time. It's not a big deal. People want to hear it again, they'll sit back and listen. And your community is for you. They're there for you and they will be there for you.
Mm.
And they don't mind hearing the same thing over and over. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, it does. I think if you look at it as like a rerun of like a TV show, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
where like you have a different. So it's like think of it like a Minecraft server, right? Someone joins a server and does something that's against the rules, like maybe have never heard the rule before. Like that
Mhm.
person, like as a moderator, you're telling that person that rule, right? But then person number two comes in and you're saying the rule again to them, right?
Yeah.
That person's hearing it for the very first time, but you've said it maybe like 30 times by now, if that makes sense. I understand that. That makes sense. I just
Yeah.
feel like when I catch myself, like, I guess when I know I'm not putting in 100% of my effort or like doing a lot, um, I guess like I feel like kind of guilty in a way, where like I'm like, oh man, like I'm not, being as entertaining as I want to be and stuff like that. And it's really when you catch yourself in that moment live, it's kind of like disheartening, I guess. Have you guys ever like had a moment like that where like you've realized you're not doing as much as you could, but I guess being looked at as if you were, if that makes sense? Like I feel like a lot of us probably get like a lot of like, oh my gosh, you're so whatever, like you're this, you're that, you're great, you're wonderful, whatever. But like you aren't doing your full potential, if that makes sense. Do you ever like get in that kind of headspace ever? And how do you deal with it?
I mean, I've definitely had moments where like I'll be talking about something and then the moment will pass and then chat will be like, not saying anything and I'll be like, oh, what am I gonna say next? And just my head just goes empty.
Hmm.
That's always kind of like a fear, like I don't know what I'm gonna say next. I'm kind of
Right.
just like thinking for a minute.
Hmm.
But I mean, I've sort of like I don't know. It's whatever at that point. If you're just staring at like the sunset, who cares? I feel like uh after streaming for like 1,000 hours, I have like sort of lost that pressure a little bit that I put
Right.
on myself.
Right.
Cause like I was doing a whole bunch of really boring shit when that
Yeah,
was
I guess
going.
during that time, like you don't really feel like you have to like be entertained because you're kind of locked in a specific
Yeah,
time period.
yeah, and like
Um,
everyone
what
understood.
about like a
So
day-to-day stream, like just like regular day-to-day stream, not like in that context?
yeah, well, I mean, like my point was is that like it sort of just took like it helped me like rationalize being boring, I guess, or not
Mm-hmm.
as entertaining as I think I could be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
I guess it's the mindset of like creating like I say this word all the time, but I hate it. I hate the word content. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Because that it's a loaded word, right? It's a very loaded word. It's like the idea of having to be entertaining, I guess in general. And if you think about it, I mean, it's part of the job, right? It's part of like streaming in general is like being entertaining in whatever way it is you're doing it. You're doing some sort of thing that's entertaining somebody, whether it's your personality, whether it's what you're talking about, whether it's dancing, whatever. Um, and I feel like for me personally, I've been feeling a lot of that like pressure of like entertaining, if that makes sense. Where like if the moment I start feeling I'm not being entertaining, that's usually when I end stream. Um,
Yeah.
and I guess that's why like my streams kind of gotten like shorter and shorter because like I feel like I'm recycling to the point. So how do you deal with that like mindset of like recycling and like kind of like getting that motivation back to like continue to be entertaining?
I feel like the one way you can do it is by, getting inspiration to do something different and new.
Mm.
Like for me, it's like I can agree with you on the word content there, is because I feel
It's
locked
pressure.
into
It's a
act
lot of
yeah,
pressure. I feel like it's a
yeah,
ton of
but
pressure.
there's there's so much pressure on it is because I actually post videos on YouTube
Right.
and I had to grow on YouTube as well. Like, I'm growing on two different platforms now. And if I don't make content here and if it looks boring, I'm not gonna post over into YouTube because no one's gonna watch and no one's gonna feel, entertained because
Mhm.
you're there to sit at the video for like 10 to 15 minutes a time. um I feel like the best way to do it to actually just is getting inspiration from something. Motivation, uh, this is gonna sound really, really nerdy, but I get motivation from reading actually. Like, because I read
Mm.
motivational books. I'll read
So
something that
you do a lot of reading
inspires me
too,
too.
kind of
Yeah.
like things like that, or
I
like
love
listening rather.
psychological and motivational
Yeah.
books and podcasts and stuff like
Mm.
that too.
Yeah, exactly. Because like
Mhm.
you get to read these stories about these people, or like you get to read something and it's like, wow, this guy did this and he was doing something like I could do even 10 times better, and I know I can do that. So that's why it motivates me to keep on going and pushing. Even though if it's boring, I'll just keep on going because like I said, people are there for you. They're going to sit there and watch you for hours on end,
Mm.
and that's what they're there for.
Yeah, thank goodness we're not. I get a lot of inspiration from comedians as well. Like I'll sit and watch like comedy specials and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I can't think of a role that's more high pressure that's just you in front of an
Then being a
audience
comedian, I could see that.
than
Yeah.
being a
That
comedian."
is
And
yeah
like, whew,
crazy.
that is so I'm super
That's like
inspired by people
that's
like
like
that.
kind of what we
You have
do
to
when you
find
think about
yourself
it, just
funny
without
too,
seeing the
right?
audience, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, you're getting live like feedback from an audience as a
Yes.
comedian, like,
Yeah. Oh my God.
sheesh. So they're
Sheesh.
very prepared, or some people it seems like they just freestyle and they're like naturally funny. And those people I try to like Chappelle or something, I try to like get some of that energy sometimes when I'm like making jokes or
Mhm.
just wanting to feel better in some way, you know? But
When you first started streaming, is for everybody. When you guys first started streaming,
Hmm.
is it kind of what you thought it'd be like, or is it different than what you thought it'd be like?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of my stream like kind of changed a lot. Like I
Mm.
feel like as I streamed more and more, I learned more and more, and just my expectations and like standards for what it like I would think a stream is sort of
Do you think you'd
changed.
make
So
this
that's
many
why
friends?
no, definitely
Yeah,
not.
Yeah, I
same.
feel like
No,
that's the
I didn't.
biggest
I
thing for
didn't
me.
expect
Was
that
like
too.
I came this like streaming world like the idea of like only me, like not gonna interact with
Yeah.
anybody. Like I feel like you just kind of get like siphoned into like some sort of like swell of communities, and it just like starts to just like eat you, and you just spread out to everywhere. I don't know. I just like I don't know. It's like you just want to call it networking, but um, even then like that wasn't part of my plan at all. So like I feel like
Mm-mm.
it's such like a dynamic thing. Like we don't even know like what tomorrow like holds. Because I feel like recently I've been having a lot of people come to me talking about like wanting to get into streaming and like their fears and like what's the easiest way to grow fast and stuff like that, and like how do you make your stream entertaining, stuff like that. I feel like for some reason just recently it's been a really popular thing is like just get into it and try it. I always say the most important thing and the most priority thing is having fun. That's like
Yeah.
absolutely the most important.
Definitely, yeah.
Everything else doesn't matter if
Yeah,
you're not
that's
having fun.
huge.
It's actually the worst. Like you
That
have
That's
to have
huge.
fun.
Yeah, if you're like just streaming to stream and you're like not liking what you're doing, you should change what you're doing or
Yeah.
just end and try again.
Hmm. Like I think I
Definitely.
don't know. It just doesn't like no
Because
matter what you do, the fun priority has to be there.
yeah,
Whether
because
it's
like
learning
your audience is
something or
gonna tell
whatever.
if you're not liking what you're doing, and you're gonna not like what you're doing and
Mhm.
not be proud of it. So like, why even do it?
Yeah, exactly. I
It's
think
it's like it's like the clout chasers, like for TikTok as well. They're doing something that they don't want to do in the beginning,
yeah,
and they
if you have
follow
to
a trend.
Yeah,
They're
if
just
you have to
they're like
conform to
ducklings
some
following.
sort of algorithm to grow your stream, like I feel like that's the wrong approach. If you have to conform to some sort of cookie cutter thing in order to like get where you want to go, like either you have the wrong goals and where you want to go, or you know, just not the right way to do it. Do you guys know who Dr. K is? Healthy Gamer GGs. Anyone know who Dr. K is? So he talks about this idea of passion, right, and what passion is. And he was talking about basically how you could have the most abstract passion ever. And his example was like, let's say you like painting in outer space while playing basketball, right? And like that doesn't exist, right?
yeah,
But that's your passion, right? So it's like, how do I achieve my passion? And let's say someone's passion is to be a streamer, right? And maybe they can't make money off it and stuff like that. But sometimes in order to achieve your passion, that you have to change some aspects of yourself to compromise with what it is that you want to achieve, if that makes sense. And I feel like a lot of people who start streaming have this idea that in order to fulfill their passion of streaming, that they have to be big, right? They think that to be a streamer, you have to have an audience of 50 plus people, right?
Oh yeah,
But
there's
you could,
huge skewed expectations
right?
for what a
It's a
streamer should be,
completely
especially VTubers. Yeah,
exactly.
it's not
So
healthy.
and that's I agree with you on the VTuber part. I think that a lot of people have this idea that if they slap a VTuber tag on their profile, if they have the specific layout of their overlays and they've got their little 2D avatar that they paid $1,500 for, and they got a pretty chat box, and they put ENVTuber on every single post they post on Twitter, that's how they grow. I feel like that's like that's not the right way of approaching the whole world that you're trying to achieve, and that, like Dr. K said, you have to alter your passion to achieve it, if that makes sense. Like alter yourself to internal and external things that you can control versus things you can't control. And if you change like your idea of being a successful streamer, let's say I said my idea of being a successful streamer is to turn my stream on and stream for an hour. That's my idea of what it means to have a successful stream. You'd hit that every day. You'd be able to achieve that every single day. But if you make it the idea of I need to have 100 viewers, that's something you can't immediately control right then and there. Right, exactly, right then and there. So, and then that's how you achieve more happiness, is by changing. I don't want to say lowering your expectation, because that means you're degrading yourself by doing that. But
You have to give yourself
changing,
realistic
right,
expectations.
realistic expectations, but just
And
changing
then
what it
you
is your goal.
modify them as they grow with you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's kind of something I've been like thinking about recently, about like, I want to set achievable goals for me that aren't so much external painting pictures in outer space while playing basketball, but more so, within reach. Because the more goals that you set in your life that are achievable, the more success that you'll reach, and the more passion you'll be able to fulfill. Do you think that let's say you want to be, I don't know, a photographer or something, right? Do you think that in order to be a photographer, that it has to be your job? What do you think about where it becomes like you're making your passion a career, if that makes sense? Do you think it's a good or bad thing? So let's say, sweet, you danced, like your job was dancing. That was like your job was to dance, and you had like a 9 to 5 schedule of like dancing, teaching dance or whatever, stuff like that. How do you think that would affect you?
Oh, yeah. Well, when you say it's your job, like there's that assumption that you need to do it to make money, to earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
And like as soon as you have something that you feel like you have to do or should do, then it becomes less less fulfilling. It feels like it's not something you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so like something like photography or dancing for me is like an expression at this point. It's like a lifestyle. It's like almost like a religion. And I see people get discouraged if they don't have like more than 10 viewers and they're just dancing, they're just beginning dancing. They're like, oh, no one's watching my stream. Like, that's not the right mindset. You're gonna get discouraged from dancing, and you might not want to do it anymore. It's more about, you pursuing this goal or this passion that hopefully people will enjoy you doing, you specifically doing. And but some people have other kind of goals. So
Do you guys think
yeah,
people correlate success with money too much?
Yeah, I think that's what I see in a lot of people, because it's not just like money is everywhere. You cannot hide away from money, and that's the truth. Um, but at the same time, like if you can somehow make like the same thing, like achieving smaller goals and making yourself like taking steps, like baby steps at a time, it'll be a lot easier to actually to see money come in one day.
Mm.
And success can mean so many things. Like being successful doesn't mean you have to be rich. You can be successful with having a family, meaning a happy family, or you can have like, a good career that, that you want, like something you're really passionate about, or even just doing something you enjoy, like a hobby. You can be successful in like maybe painting, drawing, cooking. It doesn't mean you make money, but something you love and you enjoy from it and you find it entertaining and you find it something that you keep on doing it and you're not going to get bored, is what I think success can be.
Yeah, I think when we look at like our like with dance. So if you had the opportunity to dance 9 to 5 as a job, would you do it? Yes or no?
Uh, 9 to 5, no. Like if I had to clock in and dance and then
Hmm.
stop,
Like
it's
if
like
you like worked
I
at
don't
like a
think I
dance
would.
studio and stuff, right? Like had to teach dance from 9 to 5 and stuff like that with like
Yeah,
private people and
I
stuff like
don't
that.
know. That's tough. I love dance so much.
Hmm.
I
But if it
wouldn't want to
becomes something
feel
you
like I
that
had to.
it's no longer a like, because I think about people who are artists, right? I feel like
Mhm.
that's
Hmm.
probably one of the hardest industries to make it. An artist and like film are probably that's probably another hard one. It's like acting and things like that. Um, I think that once you start correlating success with money and start to use your passion as a source of income, it adds a whole nother layer of pressure that changes and alters the way that you viewed it before money was introduced, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So no one
Yeah.
becomes this free form of being able to draw what I want. It now creates boundaries and having to draw in a specific way, whether it's to like, you have to act in a certain way, whether you have to like, fulfill a particular role that the job entails. Because every job has some sort of entailment or
Yeah.
boundaries,
I
right?
think I was gonna say like the entire time there's a huge important balance between like strategy and
Hmm.
like casuality. So
Right.
like you want to be able to do something casually and enjoy it until you're able to have the platform or like the means of doing that in the way that's still comfortable but is still like it can be a job now. I think that's
Right.
super important.
Right.
Instead of like diving right into it and being like, okay, I can make it a job now, but not in the way that I exactly want, but it's a job, I'll do it. And then you're gonna burn yourself out of that. But being able to sort of like do a switch and be like, okay, now I can do this as my job and still do it the way I want
Mm.
to do it is
Hmm.
like, yeah, that's super important. And I think people they don't have the patience to wait that long.
No, yeah, I agree. And I think that like a lot of it, honestly, this might sound kind of like, that you aren't being true to yourself, but a lot of it resides in us. Like a lot of the direction that we choose as far as it goes is like up to us to decide what we're content with. Do you ever get this, how do you put it, this syndrome of like constantly wanting more of something? I think the best way of putting it is like, think of it as like a ranking system. Like let's say you're ranked like 10,000 and whatever it is you want, and you make your goal is like 9,500. But you get to 9,500. It's like, all right, well now I want to rank 9,000. Do you ever get that syndrome of just wanting to be better and better and better and never being like settling for something and saying I'm happy with what I have where I have it?
I think it's good to like not forget like your goals, for
Hmm.
example, but it's also like you can like reach that goal and then be satisfied for a bit. Like I don't know, like for me, like I'm this specific month for me is sort of just like a chill month. I'm just gonna stream whenever I
Right.
feel
I mean,
like streaming,
understandably,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's just like an example. Um, yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
I just feel like I just feel like it's like you have to like be able to find a balance of being content with things but also setting future goals, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
But
exactly.
there's gotta be some sort of like balance. And I think a lot of
The
people
balance.
who I at least come in contact with when it comes to streaming is like it's like this idea of them constantly wanting more and more and more. And like I'm always like that's where your problem is that you don't sit in a spot for long enough to be happy with it, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you're not in an area where you look at yourself and say, "Hey, I've climbed this far down this mountain," right? They're just constantly looking upwards. It's okay to look back and look at like the
Yeah,
progress that you've
exactly.
made in your life, right? Instead of just constantly looking up the mountain, just saying, "I need to keep going, need to keep going, need to keep going." And I'm honestly guilty of that. I'm honestly pretty guilty of it. I'm pretty guilty of like constantly wanting more and more. But I think that I'm learning to just like slow down and be like, hey, like you did this much already. It's okay to like chill for a while and like rally and get
It's
yourself back
also
together.
important to recognize like personal goals instead of like what people tell you your goals are.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Oh,
so if
that's
you're
true.
like,
That is
oh,
so true. That is a really big thing in streaming is
yeah,
people telling you what you can
yeah,
achieve.
what
I think
what you
that's
should,
huge. Right.
yeah, because then if you don't reach what people expect of you, or
Hmm.
you think people expect of you, then you're not going to be happy. But
Yeah.
if you're like, I want to stream for this amount of time each day, or like, get this many viewers this one time, or whatever, then like that's just like a personal thing, and that's good. You should be able to recognize that kind of stuff to be satisfied.
Hmm. Do any of you guys experience viewers having parasocial relationships with you? Have any of you guys ever
Mhm.
had an experience like that, where someone's had
What?
like a parasocial relationship with you?
Explain that.
Where they
Parasocial.
basically where somebody has a relationship with you through means where you aren't acknowledging the relationship, if that makes sense. So through Twitch chat,
Oh.
where somebody feels really interconnected with you in a relationship type way. It happens pretty frequently with VTubers specifically, where people believe that they are being directly addressed, and it's more like a relationship type to them, to where they um, believe that you guys are like a real like connected thing, if that makes sense, in like a more like romantic way rather.
Nothing like romantic, but I've
I
definitely
guess where
had people
somebody
who
has
like
viewed a relationship with you
think,
way farther than you have with them
yeah,
because of some
well,
way that you've acted through chat.
yeah, like I've definitely had people who like well my like I don't know. I definitely set like hard boundaries for like most people where like I just
Right.
if we're not at that kind of like level, I'm just streaming and you're just watching. I don't want to make it any more than that. But I have had some people where like oh, we're friends, and then like it gets kind of like a little too like they're like messaging a lot or whatever.
Right.
And I've seen that happen with like people that I know too, where it's like they think they're cool with someone, then they sort of like it's a little bit too much, and they can't like. It's like
I
we're not
think it
that
happens
close,
off stream a lot, right? Like I think it's
Yeah, it's off stream.
it's
Yeah,
always
It's
off
off
stream.
stream.
definitely off
Yeah.
stream.
Whether it's
Yeah.
like DMs or someone's like I don't know if you guys, I know Tweet's experience where someone's like constantly DMing you and like you haven't answered in like
Fine.
months, but
I
they
yeah.
still exist that relationship with you because you're interacting with them through chat, if that makes sense. So that relationship
many
still technically
excuses.
exists for them but not for you. How do you
Yeah.
deal with that? Do you think it's better to ignore it, or do you think it's better to address that person?
I say address it because I can say I actually been through something like that. Is because there was I don't want to say the name or anyone because
No, you're
that's,
fine. You
that's,
don't- yeah,
yeah. But I had times where someone was like like DMing me and they're like really trying to get into like get deep into everything about me and like I felt really uncomfortable.
Right.
And the only way to stop it is you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it because it's kind of like rude, and I don't want to be rude to anyone. So instead, I just tell them the truth how I feel, and I say like I don't feel right. I don't feel
So it'd be like an example
comfortable.
of like let's say
I don't
I'm
mind being rude.
constantly messaging you and saying like, hey, let's hang out. Hey, you said we could hang out. You said on stream maybe we'd be able to hang out. You want to hang out? When can we hang out? What if I was saying it to you? How would you respond?
I would respond like over time I said like yeah we can hang out but like give me a minute. If you keep on doing it I'd first be like, hey, I want to talk to you like real quick about this. I- Is it okay if we kind of like give each other some space to know each other, talk more privately until
Wouldn't you
you
say
can come
know each
onto my
other
stream?
involves hanging out with them? What if it's
Yeah,
somebody you
like hang
genuinely
out
don't want to
like
hang out with or have no interest in hanging out with?
for someone who doesn't like, if I'd have no interest, I'd probably just straight up be blunt about it. Like for me, I can be blunt about it, and I would just say, "Hey, I have no interest in you." And it's wrong, it's rude to say it, but at the same time, you don't want them to keep on feeding, and you don't want to feed them more because when
You
you
don't wanna
feed
feed
them
into
more, they're
it.
gonna keep
Kind of like
coming
trailing them
after you.
along and being like, hey, I might
Yeah,
answer you today. I
Yeah.
might answer
Well,
you
like the
this
yeah.
message
like
now.
the fact
kind of
that you
thing.
responded at all is sometimes like enough for them to have hope,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
weird.
Usually my like tactic is just like I'll send like an emoji. I'm like, here you go. Like that's usually like here, just have a little
But yeah,
emoji.
you hope that eventually they'll maybe just like
That-
lose
Practical
interest and
emojis.
just I
Yeah,
don't know,
at some
not
some
care
point,
anymore.
my one emoji will
That's
get
the
them
ideal
to like
scenario.
stop messaging.
Yeah.
But no, I'm one of those people who'd be like, yeah, no, you definitely want to go up and say, hey, I'm not interested. Please leave me alone. Like I'm definitely one of the people who would say that, but I'm not. I can't say that I would do it. Like I'm very hypocritical in a way where like when that does happen to me, I'm the person who ignores them and doesn't answer. But then again, I ignore a lot of DMs. I'm not like the best DMer in the world. But I think like it's scary because if you're somebody who struggles with that kind of confrontation, because those kind of confrontations are usually never a positive confrontation, right? It's going to be a negative one regardless. So it's somebody who like struggles with that. It's like you kind of have to like take an L in order, like you take an L in your own like morals in order to get this out of your life or get this situation out of your life, if that makes sense. And I feel like for me, the only way that I would be able to prevent it would be to like stop DMs from me, like, you know, like not let people DM me basically, to not put yourself in that position. And it's just like, kind of, how do you avoid your audience thinking that that is something that's okay to do? Because in a way, I don't want to say that's harassment, but you know, for people that don't understand like the social cue of like someone not answering you or someone ignoring you, it's like a lot of pressure, unwanted pressure, I guess. And like you said, it's like the only way to relieve it is to like do that confrontation, I guess, and to actually say like, hey, this is too much for me. Like I can't handle this, like all this single messaging, you know. I don't know. Have you ever been the person that's been messaging someone over and over again and having them never answer you?
When I was younger, yeah.
When you're
I'll admit to
younger?
it. Yeah, when I was younger.
Yeah,
Because
younger
I'd be like,
too.
oh, like I really want to like get to know you. You seem really cool, and I look up to you. But then like they don't care.
Yeah. I think it's never that it's never like a personal thing, right? It's never a personal thing when it comes to me, at least. When it comes to people who like constantly message me, it's more like a not wanting to engage in a conversation with somebody you don't know. I guess it's more like I would call it more like a lack of desire to socialize, if that makes sense, outside of what it is you normally socialize with. Because if you're answering DMs from every single person that DMs you, you would never have like a moment of time to like just like do your own thing. And you don't want to be biased and only answer, you know, Joe Schmo's DMs and not answer John Doe's, right? So it's like, it's kind of like you have to either, you know, not answer them or tell them like, hey, I can't interact with you, or I don't really feel like interacting with you. How do you like deliver it in a way where you don't sound so harsh?
I want to say something. The way that I go about it, like the strategic, not strategic, but the way that I go about it, so I don't like hurt people's feelings and like step on people, like by saying like I don't want to talk to you, is I sort of I have my DMs off first off,
Right.
just from anyone,
Yeah.
and then as I stream, like if they like come back and chat and they actually hang out and they're cool and like they
Like more around, like more frequently, right?
yeah, they're like frequent, like, you know, they come back and they're like, they just seem cool. Then like even I might be like, hey, like we should talk on Discord and like, you know, actually hang out. And then like they get past that like boundary, and then they can message you whenever, you know. It's sort of
Right.
like a filter. Like the actual stream is probably a good way to filter cool people that you'd actually want to talk to, and without being like, you know, having to push people away who reach out to you after the first time they've ever seen you on stream, you know, where you
Yeah.
don't even really know them.
Right. Yeah, I hate when somebody DMs you asking for someone else to DM you, for them to DM them back or something like that. I've had that happen. I had that happen
Oh
like
my
literally the other
God.
day.
Too.
That's God, that's the worst. I feel like that out of anything, it's just like that would be the message I would answer back in like a mad way. Be like, what the fuck? like I don't know. That's I don't know. That's
Also,
I've had that
another
happen to me.
thing, when people send me like blatantly stupid stuff, I just don't respond.
Yeah,
Like
no,
if
I
it's
agree.
like
If it's
like
like
you should have probably
obvious,
thought about that a little better.
Sure,
I just don't
sure.
respond.
No, yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, I feel like I know Sweet gets like a lot of DMs, but like I feel like the pressure of like, if this person hates me
Shut
now
up, Beazle.
because I said I don't want to talk to you, right? Like I would rather this ignoring continue on than me to say, hey, don't talk to me, and then them hating me after me have said that to them, if that makes sense. It's like that's where that conflict for me comes into play. It's like if I were to say something back to them and say, hey, like, hey, don't talk to me, and if they hate me, then like I lose this connection to this person, this happiness in this person's life that, you know, was created. Like, would they be better off with me saying that to them? Would they rather me not said anything, kind of thing? Would you guys want somebody to basically tell you like to fuck off if you were annoying them?
I rather have them say that instead of just be
Yeah.
like ignoring me. To
I
be
think
honest.
so.
I
Yeah.
do like when people are honest.
Yeah,
I respect
that's the other
honesty.
thing.
I feel like I say that, but I'd probably be hurt so much more if someone said like "fuck off" to me. You know, like I feel like I would want to say I want someone to be honest to me, but then partially I want them to like let me down softly.
Well,
you know,
you'd hope
like
that
I
they
wouldn't
phrase it
want
a nice
someone to be
way,
like,
but-
"You're so annoying, please don't talk to me." Like that would actually crush me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I would like I don't know. I just would say that, but
It
I
would
don't
hurt
think
in the
it'd
moment
actually
for
do that.
sure.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be like, ow, dang.
What-
Didn't
What's
realize.
worse is like being led on for like a month or something, and then them being like, I'm not
Oh
really
yeah.
that
Have you guys been
interested.
catfished
That's like a
before?
waste of time.
You guys have any catfish
Come on.
stories? You guys ever been catfished at all? VR
Like,
chat or anything?
define,
I would
like,
say like it could
trapped
be
or
like
catfish?
it could be no. I would say okay, trap's a different thing because it's like it's like it's all right. I mean like legitimately in a way where somebody deceived the hell out of you, you know, through online anonymity kind of thing. Because I want to talk about online anonymity today too. Obviously it's more like a serious topic day. But like online anonymity is such a huge problem in VRChat in particular. It's not just VRChat though. Online anonymity has been around for ages. It's been around since the beginning of the internet, where you could go on MySpace, get a bunch of photos from Google Images of some hot girl, and throw it on your profile picture and be that person, right? But on VRChat, it's so much easier because there's a lot of cultures that are more widely accepted. Whether it's transgender, whether it's, you know, being a mute, whether it's, drawing everything you're saying and stuff like that, or being afraid to talk. Like, these things allow lots of room for people with ill intentions to create toxic environments and catfish people at the end of the day. Have you guys ever had an experience like that with somebody who wasn't who they said they were, who was, being whatever behind everyone's back, maybe messing around with like 10 different people and didn't tell anybody because of online anonymity? Have you guys ever been a part of a situation like that?
Multiple.
Yeah, you want to share?
Yeah.
Hey, Jax, you can go
Yeah, you can
first.
go. I only have one instance.
No, I have more, so you're gonna go
Okay,
first.
yeah, I'll get mine over with. I had like a founder who like founded my channel, and their intent was
So it's somebody you've known for a while then, if I found 2 years, right?
Well, they got banned, so I haven't seen them in a long time. But
banned by Twitch or banned by you?
I banned them. Yeah, I
Oh
banned
God,
them, not Twitch.
this is gonna be juicy.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna get into it because it's such a fucking old story.
Right.
But their intention was to befriend streamers and sort of climb up the ladder by befriending to get into like lobbies and stuff, and then get to know more.
Right. Like
streamers.
ugly networking, not in a mutual way, but in an
ugly
I want.
networking.
Okay, gotcha.
And then they started to date my good friend with probably ill intention, just to get them to trust them.
Right.
And then for us to be like, oh, I guess we have to trust them now. And that's pretty much what happened. And then they would DM people that they got to know, and like sort of manipulate them into sending money, or like, helping them get like avatar parts and stuff. And then everyone sort of just pieced it together, and they would go on people's streams and sort of like subtly harass them. We pieced it all together, and a bunch of streamers, and we were like, yeah, that person should go. And they're gone.
Right.
That was not a good time.
No,
I don't
think
know who the frick they were.
I feel like when it comes to like stream culture, like all of us are really on edge. It's like no matter who we come in contact with, it's like, all right, I need to know your background. I need to know who you know. What are you part of? What do you want to do with your life? Like, what's your goals?
And that was like
everyone's on edge.
maybe that was really like early into my streaming career, so I didn't know any of the etiquette or like what to be a watch out for.
I think that's the most vulnerable people are the ones that are just started, and like that's especially ones who just started who are growing fast.
Prey on new streamers. I'm sure like they actually prey on new streamers.
Sure. I think like when it comes to like those people who are prey on new streamers, it's like they look at like everyone who's new as like a pool of like, hey, who is gonna grow? Who can I side with and be a part of that too? And I guess the person that you're talking about probably looked at all these people as like, stepping stones for them to like kind of progress.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like this is where online anonymity plays into it. It's you do not know what goes on between other people's DMs, right?
Nope.
You have no idea what's going on between two people and their DMs. And I'm not just saying in like, whatever context it is we're talking about, but I mean literally everything. Someone could be best friends with somebody that you have no idea that they're best friends, but they talk all the time. And that kind of privacy and that kind of ability to network can be really, really dangerous in the wrong people's hands, and they can cause a lot of damage to particular people. And I think when it comes into catfishing and VRChat in particular, that it's a super common thing just because of the nature of the way that we interact with each other, whether it's like head patting or cuddling or whatever, watching movies and stuff like that. It's easy to manipulate people's emotions into creating a bond with them to where they don't feel the same way backwards, but they start to because of the way you're acting. if that makes sense. So for instance, like the person that dated, that new streamer or whatever, they likely weren't planning on ever being something with them, but it happened because of the way, how easy it is to manipulate someone
Yeah.
through being able to conform yourself into a way where this person is the most likable person ever, if that makes sense,
Yep.
right? You can
Basically, yeah, you
be
just be what they wanna
anything
be,
you want
or be what they
on the
want. Yeah,
internet. You can be anything you want with any personality. If you are good enough at social engineering and knowing how to behave, you can trick people into thinking that you are something, and they will believe
yeah.
you. Because at the
There's
end of the
plenty of
day,
people who are really good at playing
right,
the social game.
right, exactly. And whoever you are to somebody, that's who you are. So if I think Sweet's like the most amazing person ever, that's who he is to me. And that doesn't change, right? So you can manipulate people into allowing you to climb wherever you want to go, and like that's a huge problem in VRChat. And like when you hear someone getting exposed about it, or like when someone figures out, it's like, oh my god, we're freaking idiots, right? It's like how do we not know?
Yeah.
But
There's
Azzy, how did yours?
yeah.
What did you say, Jax?
Oh, I was just saying that you have to be like you have to like sort of wait to see what kind of person they are
Right,
before
right, yeah.
you like let
It's like
anything
a
happen
right.
to help them progress, I guess. I don't know. It sounds shitty to say it like that, but
No, I no, I understand. Like you kind of have to kind of get enough experience with them,
yeah,
right? Kind of
yeah, you have
understand
to
them
get
a
to
lot
know
more.
them a little bit better. Yeah.
But people who are good enough at freaking social engineering will carry the act on for as long as they want to, too. Like that's just the scariest part. And I think that's why everyone's always so on edge when it comes to meeting new people sometimes. But Azzy, what was your story?
My story started back on Steam. Steam was the one huge place that actually was. Well, Facebook was also a huge place to catfish, but it's actually Steam was another one that would.
Steam,
It,
yeah,
it,
Steam, chat room things too, right?
Chat, yeah. But here's the other thing about having a Steam profile, because you can have any profile picture you want and no one's gonna do anything about it.
True.
And they can't report it because they report it, nothing's gonna ever happen. But here's the one thing. I went through like a situation one time when I was like only 15, I think 15 or 16, and someone was like saying like they're like miserable, blah blah blah, like their parents don't accept them for this, and then they were playing the victim card the entire time. And this is when I started to learn about these social people and how they are using you or manipulating you into feeling emotional about them. And this guy, he was saying like, oh, like blah blah blah, like I'm gonna lose my house because of this and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you get emotional about that. And I started feeling bad for them, and then next to know, I start seeing them asking for more about something like money, or they start asking for something that I can't do for them. And when you start saying no, when you put your foot down, you say no, they're gonna start changing. They're gonna start getting angry because they can't get that same thing like from you. And then they start showing their true self. Some people do that, and some people just keep going on with the act, and they'll just ignore you, and they'll start like stop talking to you. And that's what happened to me. Um, I was in a community on Steam, and it was like like the e-boys, e-girls on
Sure.
like in social media right now. It happened to the point where this one whole entire other community found out that this person was lying. Like they were saying like they were a girl and they were not, and they were like a creepy old dude on Steam.
Right.
And they instantly just went off on them. And it got so bad to the point where that person knew that they were lying. They disabled everything. Like they turned their Steam profile into like a private Steam profile and changed everything like black and white. And then they put like something is like you guys.
It's a
you
sign of
guys,
shame.
like,
When you
yeah.
conceal things, it's a sign of shame. When you like privatize something, when you like delete a tweet and stuff, like it's a shameful thing to do. So it's like that's a reaction you have when you're embarrassed about something, is concealing it. So concealment, I mean, that's a great example of what people do when they do something they know is wrong, kind of thing, and then they act like it never happened.
Yeah, but it was bad when it happened to me when I was at a young age as well. But I started to learn. Like I picked up on these social cues, and I'm glad that I actually got that experience, is because now if I meet someone, like it's the same thing like with Jax, what he said. You wait for a minute to kind of like understand this person, and then you kind of share a bit of your
Right.
story. But you also have to be careful on one thing. You can't trust almost anyone nowadays, and it's sad to say that, but you really can't.
I think it's true.
because you
No, I
don't
agree with
you
you.
don't
I agree with you. I definitely do. There's definitely an
yeah
extent where it's like, um, again, this goes back to online anonymity, where you have to um, know yourself and know how much you're giving and throwing out there for somebody to react to.
yeah
If that makes sense. I think it's scary because it actually ruins so much for a lot of other people. It ruins a lot of connections that could
yeah.
potentially have like blossomed into something really beautiful because of all these negative people that have impacted your lives or whatever history you've
But
had.
the best
Um,
people, they'll stick around.
True. Right.
So
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Right,
Right.
yeah,
right, right.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's why I have so few friends because it's like unless I always I call this. Do you guys know what the it's called? I think it's called the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox basically talks about how there's these barriers in a species life where they cross in order to reach the next level. I think for like humans, the next barrier we're crossing is harnessing the whole energy of our sun or something like that. But with that being said, I think that in a social level, there are also these barriers when it comes to a social relationship with somebody that people cross in order to reach certain parts in stages. I give this lecture about the levels of friendship, and I talk about there's 5 levels of friendship. You know, you got the 5th level is the closest friends like ever, and level 1's like the first starting friendships of like what do you call them, acquaintances, right?
Yeah,
So
acquaintances.
in order for someone to cross these levels of friendship, basically, it sounds kind of freaking lame as hell now that I think about it, but when they cross these barriers, it's like specific events, whether it's something traumatizing that's happened to you and they're like sticking with you through it, whether you've lost something and they're still with you. It's like there's these challenges that your friends will come through with
oh,
you,
totally, yeah,
and when they cross those barriers, they basically level up to the next
yeah, they
stage
level
of
up.
whatever your friendship is.
I would
So
agree
I,
with
I
that.
don't know what I'm going to call it, but it's basically an analogy that I created some couple months back about how friends are developed and how we um, grow with each other. And when someone's there on the other side, it's like that's how you develop those levels of trust. But what's also scary is people who are good enough at being sociopaths will cross those barriers with you and manipulate in a way where you still think that
Yeah,
they're that who they are.
that's like actually like
It's a very
crazy
right,
shit when
right.
when
No,
actually when
it's
you see it in retrospect.
and I think
Yeah,
some few weeks back, people were mad at VRChat because they're like, oh, VRChat's enabling kids under 16 years old to sleep with people who are over 18, stuff like that. And the sad part is this has been happening forever. It's been happening since
yeah,
the internet was born,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
people like started
It's not
wanting
just
to blame
VRChat.
VRChat for it, just because we have tools that enable sex and stuff like that doesn't mean that we're a spawn of it. It doesn't mean that we created freaking minorities being not sorry, minorities minors being around with adults. That's been
Yeah,
around since MySpace, been around since beginning of Facebook. And it's just only now people want to start flaming VRChat at it because it's sitting at the top right now. Um, have you guys ever I guess had to confront somebody in like the whole in a situation like that before, where someone was I mean, I know you have, but have you guys like you were sweet or Azzy sweet?
Mm.
Like confront a sociopath or a psychopath,
Yeah, someone that
basically.
was had the ill intentions with either in your community or in a community you're part of. Because when I'm in
Man.
that kind of situation, I know someone's bad for other people. I'm definitely one of those people who would say, "Hey, like you got to watch out for this person." I'm one of the people that likes to give warning. And I know it's not really the best thing to do because it's always like, would teach their own. But I don't want my friends getting hurt. I don't want my friends becoming part of
Mm.
a situation where they wouldn't have wanted to be in it to begin with, kind of thing.
I
Yeah.
I I had to deal with it all the time. I confront a lot of people in the past when I was like running communities, doing this, doing events. I had to know almost every single person. Like I used to, like I said, I used to do Milsim, and a lot of people in Milsim usually would lie. Here's the one thing I hate the most: stolen valor. I
Oh,
hate
stolen valor is
people
freaking
for
disgusting.
stolen valor. And for me, a person who actually doesn't never
Well, why
served,
don't you explain what stolen valor is first before?
stolen valor pretty much is you are saying that you served in the military or you served in a specific community or force,
Right.
and you have, you say you're this rank and you're just putting on a show that is not really, that never happened. and
Milsim and
you're
RP community, they're so huge offenders of it. Huge offenders. Even VRChat RP groups are really big
RP.
offenders of it.
See, the one thing I can say about Milsim is that sometimes Milsim is not really. Milsim doesn't have to be necessarily stolen valor if you are playing without like rank. If you don't have rank and you don't say that you're a part of this unit in the military, it makes it more sense because you can be Milsim, meaning you can just play tactical, and that's called still Milsim, military simulation. But if you go into deep where it's like, oh, I'm the lieutenant colonel of like the Second Ranger Battalion, like, come on, dude. Like, you're not that in real life. And people go off on that. Like when I was in a Milsim unit, someone was like, I think he was a sergeant, and I was like a lieutenant at the time, and he was like, you know when rank gets to your head, he was like, listen guys, I'm the sergeant here, and you guys can't do anything, and I used to be in the military. I said, okay, what MOS were you? And he's like, oh, I was in 18 X-ray. I'm like, okay, so how many years were you in 18 X-ray, and what do you do? What? And then I asked him more questions because I had so much knowledge about the military at the time.
Like a
And
fact check kind of thing.
yeah, I fact checked every single thing, and I asked him, okay, when were you discharged? And I said, okay, can you show me your DD-214? He's like, what's a DD-214? After he said, what's a DD-214? I was like, okay, we're getting him out.
Mm.
I yeeted him out. I just said, I messaged my friend. I said, I'm banning him right now. He's like, why? He's stolen valor. All right, get him out.
Oh my god, I
Instantly
love
get
it.
him out.
So
It, w-
stupid.
it's so wrong. But at the
Yeah, I
same time,
think
people still do it.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
I
People
think it's
think that
because
they can just lie.
it goes back to like when you lie once, you lie twice, kind of thing. Where like you
Yeah.
constantly can't stop yourself from lying, kind of thing. Especially when you receive positive results from it, right? There are people who lie so badly to the point where they convince themselves that like that they are or have done something in particular. Especially when it comes to like stolen valor and things like that. Like they'll lie so much until like somebody calls them out on it. And I'm not. I guess I'm like somebody who would want to call someone out big time. I have before. I have done it many times. But as I get older, I learned that even when I call somebody out on something, it's not going to stop them from doing what they're doing, kind of thing. Like they're just going to go to somewhere else and do the same thing. So I don't want to waste my time on this person anymore. I basically just like push him out of my life. You know, like
It's
I want nothing to do
a
with them
huge
anymore.
thing that you like learn as a streamer. It's like you're gonna see a lot more people like that, so might as well
Right,
just
absolutely.
get rid of
Absolutely.
them and move on. Like, just
Yeah.
don't even care.
Like don't like waste your time with those kind
Yeah,
of people,
don't
I
waste your
guess.
time. Yeah.
And I
Because
can't.
people who deserve your time are gonna actually prove that. Like,
True. Right. Yeah.
it's
I
not
can't. I
like
can't like stay idle. I can't stay idle with somebody in either a community I'm a part of or that I know of that's done stuff and like has these kind of potential of creating like a toxic thing for people, especially like my friends. I can't just idly wait for that to happen. Basically, if that makes sense. So I need to either remove myself from that or remove them from it with the most little interaction with them as possible because like I don't want to waste any more time like around them, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's just like a lot of it's like people can change and everything.
Yeah.
But if you give them the benefit of the doubt, it's kind of like you're setting yourself up for just like, I don't know, to be hurt, I guess, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that you have to like alienate every single person that's ever done something bad, right? I'm saying that if somebody has looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it when it comes to like especially
Yeah.
personalities, like just like the way that I feel like I've been really good at like gauging personalities like as I've gotten older. So if I feel like I have a bad feeling about somebody, it's like probably not the best thing, right? It's probably not the best
Yeah.
idea to continue like loving this person either in my community or stay around people that I'm friends with, you know?
You gotta follow your intuition, but you should be open to like, for example, there's someone I know who's like great dancer and everything, but there's been like stories about them doing not so moral stuff, and like to me, they're all I've known is them being really kind and fun to dance with, and then I hear these other things. I'm like, I've never experienced that before,
Mm.
and so it's like conflicting in my head. I'm like, how many people out there just kind of want to be part of a community? Maybe they have done something bad, but they're they're trying to change themselves, and personalities change. You know, you can gauge someone's personality, and then maybe a few years later, they're like they've changed themselves or something. So it's rough. It's like there's a balance for
Yeah, I know. I
sure.
think it's all about how you morally feel at the end of the day, if that makes sense. It's up to your morals because no one can tell you what you should be doing, who you can talk to, right? Like if you want to go talk to somebody, like it is what it is.
Hmm.
So you kind of have to ask yourself, am I okay if this were to happen again? Or am I okay with the potential consequences of it happening? Am I
Sure.
okay with living next to this person or beside this person and continuing my path of relationship with them, knowing of this fact, if that makes sense?
Sure.
And do I want to give them, the benefit of the doubt? And that's only a question that you can answer. It's solely up to you to decide whether or not you want to keep engaging with X person or whatever. I've always believed in that because everyone has their own choice at the end of the day, right? When it comes to who they let in their community, who they talk to, and whatever. I think what's scary in VRChat too, when it comes to the whole like sociopathing and being anything they want, is that you can literally like be in any avatar you want, right? Use any voice you want, talk in any way, and like the person you're in just has like no idea, right? And I think that because of the nature of VR chat and how close like you get with people and like what in like an intimate way or like physical or whatever, it's scary. And I think that like especially like when VR chat first started, it was like a big thing to like kind of have these really long, deep talks with people on like freaking Near Automata Flowers. I don't know if you guys ever been in that map, but that's basically where everyone used to talk to you back in the day, like 2.5, 3 years ago. Like that I guess every time I find myself in that situation nowadays, I always like get really nervous. Like I don't know why. I just get very nervous nowadays.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've had that kind of talk before, just because I think that I've like embedded into my brain that everyone's bad. I don't know. I don't know how I get myself out of that mindset of like not wanting to be around people because I have this idea that everyone has these ill intentions. Kind of like what you said about not being able to trust anybody.
It's
It's
hard to
funny.
get trust nowadays. Sorry, go.
Oh, I was saying it attracts people like that who have sociopathic tendencies, but it also attracts really open people. So, people who are willing to try on a new skin, like
Right.
literally, figuratively. And so that's gonna happen. Like you'll have a bunch of open people and you'll have people who kind of prey on people who are open. Just like any population though, I guess, when you think about it. But yeah,
I have
I
a
just thought of
interesting story. So I had a buddy, I was friends with a few years ago. I'm still friends with them now. They dated this guy for like 8 or 9 months, right? And they decided to meet up. They met up, and they like they're about to meet like in person. And within the first 10 minutes of meeting in person, it's after like 9 months of dating. The one guy goes, "Yeah, by the way, I'm not gay." And it was like a VR chat relationship, right? And they ended up like splitting off and whatever, and came back and pretended like nothing happened. Um, how do you guys feel about people who say that they are, gay or bisexual in VR chat but not in real life?
Why?
Yeah.
Why would they
Why?
do like why would you
Yeah.
do that?
Because I'm sure you guys have heard people like that before, right? Like I've been around
Yeah.
people like that before plenty of times who've said, I do sexual stuff with guys in VR chat but not in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand like
Do you think
the
they're in
reasoning,
denial?
but like, what? I don't know. Like, why take it to IRL if it's not gonna actually like? Why not just keep
Well,
it
it
a
goes back
VR
to the
thing?
lie thing, to like lying to yourself, convincing yourself so much until you hit with reality, where you convince yourself that you like penis, and then the second a penis is in front of you, like, holy shit, what the fuck is that, right? It's like you literally convince
Get
yourself
the
so
banana.
much.
Get the.
Yeah.
God.
it's interesting because I think VRC was like my first sort of exposure into experimenting uh, with guys, to be honest. Especially because the first guy I did with, he was mute. I didn't know he was a guy, and like a few
Right,
months
that's
later,
a perfect
they
example.
unmute. And like,
Perfect
oh my
example of
God.
online anonymity.
And I'm
And
like, well,
it,
it's
it's
okay.
not a lot of people ask the question, "Are you a guy or a girl?" Like when they're talking to a mute, right? You just
No,
assume,
Yeah,
right? It's a
that's
lot of assumption
even
because
streamers. It's
right,
just like,
exactly. And when you let it kind of go into a direction, like in a romantic direction, it then like
mhm.
it's like, holy cow, we're romantic already, but I don't even know if they're a guy or a girl. And then if it's a guy,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, well, I like guys, right? But then
feel like
you're basically
there's
lying to yourself. If that makes sense.
there's like a weird like social like I feel like guilty, like I feel bad like
Mm,
asking people like are you a guy or a girl,
mm.
or like what do you identify as, or
I
like
agree. I agree because
especially
it
if you're
makes you feel
mute.
like it should be obvious, right? It's like a thing that you should think you feel like it
Well,
should be
it
obvious
should be
kind of thing.
obvious, or like that's how they want to identify, and they'll feel like bad if you like bring
If
it
you don't,
up
if you
or
yeah, if you look
whatever.
at it in a different way and like, wow, I
Yeah,
really thought
that's
I
how
was
they're
looking like a
presenting
guy because I am a
themselves,
guy,
right?
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
No, I
So that's like
agree.
how they're presenting themselves. But like if it goes romantic, like you probably should
How does it
know.
go romantic without you understanding the gender of the
Unless it's
person if you are defined as straight, if that makes sense? How does it evolve
yeah.
into a
Well,
romantic
I
stage
mean,
without
it's
you
all about
knowing?
communication. So if you're like,
True.
I just want a VR relationship only, and like it's fine if you're still mute. I don't have to know. I don't care. That's totally up to you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's just totally your own boundaries. But like I
Mhm.
feel like you can't. There's still like a weird guilt, like because you just don't know.
Mhm. Do you think
You
that
don't know.
having sex with somebody in VR equates to having sex in real life? This is for everybody. Controversial question. I know.
That was an interesting question.
Oh, I want it to be as real as possible.
Uh huh.
Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
like, um, yeah, that's like you want it to be as real as we want everything to be more immersive. Like
Mhm.
what's the line to where, it's
Yeah, I mean, if you're intimate with someone, like
Mhm.
it's
I
real.
guess let's start from the beginning, right? Let's start from the beginning. Do you think
Mhm.
phone sex is real sex? Well, actually, I can go even further back. Do you think sexting is real sex?
Well,
Like,
I mean, I
I
think it's
wouldn't say
arbitrary.
it.
At that point, it's just arbitrary.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, what is sex,
True.
anyways? You know,
True.
Yeah.
I think like
labels
because
labels only have so much power.
when it comes to like people who involve their romantic feelings and then say like, well, we had sex and I'm a guy, and it's like, all right, well, you were a girl in the game, and the only thing that made you a guy was your voice, right? So it's like
Yeah.
doing it with a girl with a manly voice, right? Um, and I think that that's where people use that exception to not feel guilty for manipulating a person's emotions, if that makes sense, to fulfill the role of a sexual partner for them. And the reason I say is because I think about that 9-month relationship that guy had, and like it's like Jesus, like like
Yeah,
I'm
that's quite a
that
while.
has to have happened before too, right? That's not the only case, especially in the VR chat verse of that happening, right? Where
No,
somebody
absolutely
who's convinced themselves that they like penis and then come into the real life, literally,
Mhm.
and are like, what the fuck, right?
not.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't. I feel like you have to have a clear understanding between the two of each other of like, I guess like what you are, if that makes sense. Like you can't
mm,
get into a relationship not knowing if you're gay
I
or
think
straight, right?
I think if you're gonna take things to like next level, whatever you consider the next level to be, I
Right.
think it's okay to ask like what your like boundaries are, or what you expect from that next,
hmm
like from that
mm.
crossing, I guess.
Like, is this a VR relationship or does our relationship exist out
Yeah.
of VR chat kind of thing?
Yeah.
What do you think VR chat relationships are a waste of time? Like
No,
just VR chat only?
I don't think so.
You think so? Why not?
It's like is a friends with benefits a waste of time?
That's a
You
good
know what I mean?
question. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like
Yeah.
something to like make you happy,
Kind
I
of like
guess.
do
It's
like,
like it's another
just to
thing
fulfill.
that you just do in your day to day life. I don't
I
think.
feel like a lot of times, especially online, you enter the gray area. Does everybody know what the gray area is when you're dating somebody, where you
Yeah.
aren't really a thing, but you consider yourself a thing, and you're
Yeah.
not allowed to be with other
Yeah.
people, kind of thing. This is
Yeah.
speaking monogamy only, by the way.
Mhm.
But like, cause I feel like that happens so goddamn frequently on VRChat, and I don't know why. I've never been able to figure out why. Like I know the cycle. I know what the cycle is. I know how that happens so frequently. And if you don't know what the cycle is basically, you date somebody, you guys have some problems, you go to somebody else because the problems are you don't know how to talk to your partner, so you talk to somebody else, and then that person starts to know exactly what it is you want in a relationship, and they start to subconsciously fulfill that role, if that makes sense, by not
Mhm.
doing everything you that you're bothered by your partner, and because of that, it creates a bond, and then they start dating
Yeah.
and rinse and repeat. That's called the cycle. If you guys have never
Yeah.
been a part of that, then I don't know, but I've been a part of that cycle so many times, and I've seen it so many times, but what I'm saying is that gray area happens. I feel like it happens because of that cycle. Because somebody just got out of a relationship, so like, oh, let's not date yet. Let's not date just yet, just
Oh,
because you got out.
totally,
So
yeah.
it's like, but we're gonna date without dating, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's like the longest you've been in like the gray area before, and like have you been in it?
That gray area. Oh my god, that was actually recent. It
Yeah.
was recent. It was very recent.
Mm. Oh,
I,
no.
I feel deep down to myself that I kind of regret a lot of that.
Mm.
You know, I don't want to like. That's the other thing. I kind of don't want to even talk about it because I'm actually a little worried because I don't know if they're watching right
Yeah.
but deep down it's like, you know, we all make mistakes, we're all human, and
Right. Right.
you know, it's like, you know, I own up to my mistakes, I'll admit it. Yeah, I'll
Sure.
admit it. I did it. I was in that gray area, and um but I never had the intentions to hurt them. That's the
No,
one
I
thing.
don't think
I never
anybody does.
wanted
I don't
to.
think anybody when
Yeah.
they're in the gray area has an intention of hurting somebody. I think it's
Yeah.
just they're both. It's two people who want to both be cautious, but aren't
Yeah.
aren't really positive. And I'm almost like convinced that when you are in the gray area, the best thing to do is literally just stop talking. Like I'm almost convinced because when you're in that area, it's like the only
Probably,
way
yeah.
out is like some sort of pain. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's either you date and you know you realize, holy cow, I don't really want to date. I just having fun having sex and whatever. But or it's either you stop talking. I don't know. It's like I've every time I've seen myself or someone else in that gray area, I'm always like scratching my head like, oh man, like I don't know, like what do you do? Because if you stop talking, you're not friends anymore. But if you continue, then
Yeah.
you might get into something you're not ready for. And like, it's like I don't know. I think it's a common thing that happens to everybody, but nobody freaking talks about is the gray area of relationships. And we all just like sweep it under the rug, like okay, it happened, whatever. And the truth is, it is important because it's people's emotions, right? It's people's emotions that two people are playing with, and a lot of trauma comes out of it, comes out of the gray area because it starts to it makes you put up walls a lot of time too.
Yeah.
Once you leave the gray area, you start to get afraid of like getting close to somebody again. And I think it's rampant on VRChat, and I again I can't figure out why it happens so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be honest and to avoid conflict on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Because even like in
Honesty
any
creates
relationship,
conflict, right? That's a good way of putting it.
it
Basically,
does. Like
honesty creates conflict.
what if you? I mean, in anything like negotiating for a better job salary, or like having that discussion with your partner about the dishes that you really don't want to have, so you just sweep it under the rug,
Right.
or not even dishes, like monogamy or something. When you're like, oh, I really want to see other people,
Uh-huh.
but maybe let me not tell my partner about that and just kind of get on a different VRChat account or something
Right.
like
Yeah.
that. It's
People
hard
don't
to
want to
do
like
that.
create that conflict, so they just hope that it never like comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's like an
you either
avoidance
don't talk
thing.
about it. Yeah, you either don't talk about it or you do manipulative things like, like that, like cheat on someone or something else instead of directly being honest with them. And maybe that ends the relationship, but that's still the best outcome for both people because no one's
Yeah.
wasting their time. No one's going to get resentful or have like their feelings hurt
Yeah.
later and, try to destroy the other person like for revenge,
Yeah,
that
and
kind of
and
thing. So, yeah.
yeah, and I can agree with you on that, is because if it was only like a couple months into the gray area or something, and you were honest and they didn't like it and then they wanted to leave, that's so much better than being into a relationship 6, 7, 8 years into the
Ooh.
line, and
I think it's
you
easy to
want
say to
to
be
Yes.
get
honest,
married or
though. I think
something.
it's so much easier to say, "Oh, just be honest." Like if
Oh,
you've
yeah,
been
it's
in the
way
gray
easier to
area,
say.
it's like so
Tough.
freaking hard. Like you have no
Yeah.
idea what the right choice is, and when you probably talk to every friend and their mother about it, and go like, "Oh man, I don't know if I want to date this person or not." It's like the sad truth about dating, and this is nothing against you, baby, but the sad truth about dating, when you're dating somebody, it's like a make or break. Like you are choosing whether you guys are going to be successful or not. You basically lock yourself into a situation with fixed outcomes, if that makes sense. And a lot of people, because of that fear of losing that person as this connection that they have in this gray area, they don't feel like they should be honest because it's going to create that hit or miss, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like it's easy to say like, oh, just be honest, and it's just prevent all those situations in the future and just be honest with everything. It's so much easier to say that than it is when you're actually in it. And
Yeah.
I think coming from like myself, I've been in that gray area. Like, I'm always just finding myself like so like pissed off that I got myself into it to begin with. I feel like one way to once you're in it, I feel like it's too late, if that makes sense. Once you're in the gray area, you've already like kind of put yourself
Yeah,
in a
you're kind
shit
of like
situation.
mentally stuck. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've been in like a sort of grayish area before, but I don't
Mm.
even want to talk about it because it's just
Traumatic.
like
Yeah, I
traumatic.
thought
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if yeah, that's hard to talk about. Just it's so personal
Yeah.
being in
Yeah.
that gray
Oh.
area. Sorry. No, sheesh, being in the freaking seat. Um,
Yeah, I mean, most we talk about is like reactions without like freaking doxing the person that we were with, I guess.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
it just it, no, it's basically no,
Make
but
them
you
seem
can
bad or
from
anything.
contextual purposes you can draw what someone's been saying just from how you reacted to it, if that makes sense. So I think that like ever since like I was in my like first ever gray area, it's like I never want it ever again, ever, because it spawned like 2 years of like constant like cycling over and over again.
mm,
And to the point where I was like over relationships. I was like over it. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to date anybody ever again.
mm,
I never want to be in that position
Yeah.
ever again. It took me a couple of years to like
yeah.
get out of that headspace of never wanting to date again. But I feel like everyone goes through that phase of like never wanting to have a relationship ever again. I feel like you get out of
Oh,
like a long
absolutely.
relationship, you're like, I don't want to date anybody.
Yeah.
What do you guys?
That was
What are like
that was
important
me.
traits to you guys when you're like dating people, or searching? I guess like what's like an important trait for you guys personally? Can be specific, can be broad, whatever.
Oh, I appreciate somebody who like I get along with, but they're also very like transparent about like what they want
Sure.
and like what they're thinking. You know,
I like the
'cause,
word transparent. I like the word better than honesty. Honestly, I like transparent
yeah,
better than
yeah,
honesty.
no, transparent
Honesty is
is
a
like
weighted word. It's a very weighted word.
yeah, well, because honesty implies something that is like I don't know, like bad or something.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
but like you can be transparent. Like I was transparent. Like, hey, I wanted partner. Everybody, I would like to have partner.
Sure,
Can we get
sure.
partner?
Without like
partner, partner.
pussyfooting
You know
around,
what I mean?
like
That's
right,
like an
right, right, right.
example. That it was just that's kind of transparency that I respect
Uh-huh.
and that I like in like somebody that I'm like looking to maybe
Versus
date.
someone being like, "Yo, Jax, be honest with what you want. What do you want?" Right? It's
Well,
like,
it's
yeah,
okay. Like everybody has their own like desires or like needs.
exactly.
So if I know, then like that's cool, right? Even if it's like technically bad for me or whatever, because then I like can work around that. We can like work around it. So
What about you, Azzy? What's like a main trait you
Mm,
look for? That's
like a
partners.
mate.
Yeah, I'm just writing out my whole thesis of how I'm gonna get with both of you guys. That's why I'm trying to figure this out. Sorry, sweet.
It's okay. Oh, wait.
I feel like the only thing is that if you can, if someone can, I don't know if this is a trait, but like if you can just understand and listen to how I feel or go through things, because it's like a good relationship is communication.
Sure.
And if you and if you can communicate with your partner, like you can go so far. And if they understand how you feel
Do you
about
think that
something,
falls in the
that's
category of comfortability? I think
yeah,
comfortability is
like,
really important
yeah,
because that
yeah,
also like you need comfortability in order to be able to communicate, right? Like if you're
yeah,
not
and
comfortable with
that
someone, you can't feel comfortable to talk.
yeah, exactly, and that's also kind of ties back into like what we talked about
that's
earlier
huge.
is
Yeah.
like the being trusted. If
Sure.
I
Yeah.
can trust them,
Oh,
then
trust.
I
Yeah,
can.
that's
Yeah, trust is another one.
huge.
Yeah. So if I can trust someone, I can tell them so much more, and then like it feels more like you kind of like have weights being lifted off because like they understand how you
Yeah.
want things or like you feel about something, and if they respect that, if they don't respect that, that's still okay. You just like you have to find ways to like understand why they don't want that,
Mhm.
or if they do respect it, you're good, you're good in the clear, you're all clear right there.
Hmm.
But I'd say trust then. Trust
Yeah.
and is important.
What about you, sweet? Now I'm actually writing down.
I mean, it's all kind of traits that I suppose you have. So, like, openness, for sure, just being open to different things, like changing, for example, like, hey, I like this thing. It's like, oh, maybe we can try this thing together.
Mm.
Let's give it a shot. If I don't like it, I'll tell you. And then transparency or honesty. So if you feel like
So the general
weird about something I'm
concession is that
doing,
we all want honesty, right? I think everybody wants
I think
honesty.
so.
Um,
Just it makes things easier to navigate, right? You don't want
Sure.
to be like surprised by
But
something.
it's also
I
like
mean, that's
it's
any relationship.
it's like honesty to the point of like bringing up conflicts, but then also like both of you being understanding enough to not like just argue. And even if you have to argue, like knowing that you're just arguing about the one thing and like, you know, it's not like you hate each other or anything. You're just trying to come to a compromise, I
Right.
guess. Like the mutual understanding of that is
What?
really important.
So obviously,
Mhm.
not everyone in this room has been honest to
Mm.
every single partner we've ever talked to, right? Whether it's like talking about we didn't do dishes, or it could be as bad as like cheating or whatever. But at some point, we haven't been honest. What makes it so that you can't be honest to somebody in your relationship?
If it like doesn't really affect them, but you know that they might like react a certain way.
Mhm.
I
I'm trying to
think
think of an example, but I don't know
like
exactly. But
yeah, not knowing yourself. Like you know yourself very well, I think. If you don't
Right.
know like yourself or you don't like value yourself, you might not value honesty or you might not be able to tell to someone else what you want or what you need.
I
And that's like the most
think
important thing to
I
know,
think the I think
I
what
think.
spawns dishonesty is the fear of failure. I think that people are afraid of consequences when it comes to um, being honest.
oh,
Whether
like
it is something
self-imposed
right. So
consequences.
whether
Mhm.
Yeah,
whatever it is that you want, we start to
totally.
draw these unknown conclusions of if I were to say this, then this reaction is going to happen. We are much more likely to side towards a negative reaction rather than a positive response from our partners because a lot of self doubt is created within us when we start to be dishonest. It subconsciously creates self doubt. Where let's say like, oh, think of it when you're a kid, right? If you break your dad's window on his car or whatever, right? And you told your dad that a bird flew into it, right? And you start to be upset because you were dishonest and you lied about it. And the reason you aren't going to be honest because it's much more likely it's much more likely to think that your dad's going to be mad at you because you broke the window, right? Than it is for him to be accepting of it and say, it's all right. It's not a big deal, right? It's much more
Yeah.
likely for us to think that our
Oh yeah,
dad's going
that's
to
a
be
good
pissed off
example.
about it, right?
Yeah.
So what that creates is a validation in your dishonesty. It creates that, I lied and good things happened. I lied and good things happened. I lied and everything was the same. I lied and everything was safe. Nothing changed. But if I tell the truth, everything changes. My dad's pissed off. I'm grounded for a week. It causes us more consequences, regardless
But
if it
that's
was a
why it's
good
good,
or
like
bad thing.
when you're like partners with somebody, if they tell you something that should have consequences, to be like understanding
Right.
and like
Right.
not give them the consequences they might accept or
Mhm.
think that you would give, because then they'll be more inclined to tell you when stuff like that comes up again.
Mhm.
It's like a mutual trust kind of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I think like I think we've had a discussion before about like agreeable personalities and why people are agreeable, and when you aren't agreeable or when you start to agree to things that you don't agree to, it creates resentment, underlying resentment.
Yeah.
And I think that people who have agreeable personalities and are likely to just be like, yeah, whatever, it's all good, like I'll continue. Like you start to subconsciously create, um, you know, an undesirable ability towards that person because you're doing things that you don't want to do, basically. Um, and I think that honesty plays a big role in that because if you're just honest and say like, hey, like I don't want to do that today, like I'd rather do this today, then it would cause a lot less problems in the future. I think in order for a relationship to be successful in the honesty department, it has to start with honesty. Like it's not something that like halfway through the relationship be like, okay, let's now start being honest. I think that it's so much harder to fix however long that period was of like dishonesty than it would have been just like kind of start with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you've already created all this validation of positive reactions from your lies. And for me, it's like if you reach that point, it's like all right, something big's gotta change, like something major. And we talked about the barriers before. I think barriers are in relationships too. I think when it comes to like dating somebody, you also have like those barriers back to like the Fermi paradox that you overcome with your partner, whether it's like your first fight or the first time you guys have sex or whatever, the first time you meet up. It's like those big barriers you cross too that also could create better honesty and development in your relationships and stuff like that. What do you guys stand on like long distance relationships? And I'm talking like really long, like country wise.
Yeah. I've always been open to it. I knew that it like would suck, but I feel like I'll probably make a more meaningful connection with someone if I meet them long distance
Sure.
rather than close.
I know people who like
So,
will
yeah.
never date online. Like I know people that will not date unless you're like 20 miles in.
Yeah, there's some people
Mhm.
like that, and like I understand that too, because long distance is really difficult. So
Yeah, I find the
But
people that are like that are people who've dated a lot of people before,
yeah,
like
oh,
like who have a
totally.
lot of experience.
yeah, I say like long distance can be a good thing and a bad thing because the good part is like, can you trust this person? And you have to just build up that trust over time as well. And you have to know, like, you have to be confident in knowing that they won't do something behind your back. Because it's online. They can do whatever they want. They can go anywhere, change anything, change their stuff whenever.
Yeah, super
Um,
true.
but the one thing about being close is that if you're like, oh my God, school dating is the worst. Dating in school is the worst. Um,
Dating in school reminds me of like only VRChat dating. It's like like you
yeah,
said, the temporary thing just to like
Yeah,
make your day better. you know.
yeah, exactly.
yeah, pretty much.
But like
Rip.
you see them over and over every single day, and what if one day you break up with them and they
Yeah,
work in the
that's
same company as you? Oh fuck.
Oh
that's
no.
Exactly.
awkward.
That
Yeah.
happens in friend groups a lot too. Like people start dating and then
Oh,
they break
awkward.
up and the
Yeah,
friend group
friend
freaking
groups.
Break up.
explodes. Literally
Ah,
implodes on
hell
itself.
What?
no.
I think everyone's been down that road too. Isn't it
Yeah.
unbelievably crazy how frequent these things happen? Like everyone here has experienced that. Isn't that crazy? Like I don't think anyone ever like just stops and is like thinks about that for a second. It's like, holy cow, we've all gone through such similar things. Like, why is that? I always like I find it fun to like ask myself that question and like kind of dive down that rabbit hole of like social life and social interactions with people, of how are we always drawn towards creating interpersonal connections with each other? Like, why do we crave that so badly? I don't know.
Mm,
I think it's
yeah.
been on VRChat, it's so stimulated, like getting close to people.
Yeah, I think that's well, one of my favorite psychologists said that that is like happiness. It's feeling like you're part of some kind of community, whether
Mm.
it be like a community between you and another person, or you and a big community, or like you and yourself, or you and nature. Like just having a relationship with something kind of gives you some kind of meaning. And so everyone goes through little patterns and
I think a
breaks
lot of
up.
people look at dating as a quick way to happiness. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
I think
That
that's
is true.
Probably, yeah.
That is
a
very
pretty
true.
Yeah,
common
I know a lot of people who they'll be like, "Oh, I need to
Oh,
date somebody right now because I'm just sad and like not feeling fulfilled." And then they'll start dating
jeez.
someone to be like, "I am so happy right now," and then they'll break up like I don't know, like 2 weeks later and be like, "I'm so sad again." And that's like just an endless cycle of not
that's
getting
the
over
Yeah,
cycle.
anything.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cycle.
no, Jax, you know what's the best? The best part is this here. When it's on Steam, oh my God. They make a Steam profile like for their significant other, and then like 2 weeks later, change everything to black and white, and then like all the Steam
Yeah,
groups
you
are
want to
all
hear
like
the?
emo
Oh
and
my
depressed.
god,
I
dude.
was like, I've seen that so many times. It was
So I'm gonna
Oh
expose a
man.
friend group of mine really quick. We have a group chat. The After Dark. I tell you about it all the time. We have like a group chat, like a Discord server, and one of the people on the server thought it'd be fun to put like everyone's name, everyone that was in relationships with each other, like combine their names. Like our name is like Sweet Curl or something like that. But it's like combining names that people are dating, and there's like
yeah.
four relationships going on in the same
Ship
friend group.
names is what they
Three
call
of
it.
them broke up, so all three of those roles got deleted. So it's
Oh
like I
Oh,
hate stuff like that. I
yeah.
hate stuff like that. It was oh my god, I cringe my balls off when I see like things like that. I don't know. Um, yeah, I think people look at relationships as like a source of happiness. And like like we've always said, like you can't rely on your partner as your only source of happiness. So if you go into a relationship
No.
as like gonna fix all your problems, right? Like
No.
it's not how you're gonna have a
no.
successful one. So
They probably
anybody
have the
looking to
opposite effect.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
anyone that's looking, I give a huge ass lecture the other day about relationships on my stream, where I was like drawing out a lot of conclusions, stuff like that. But one of the biggest things I was writing out is that you have to discover yourself before you can get into any relationship. Not only because you have to know, you have to love yourself, but because you have to know what you want. You have to know things that you enjoy. You have to know your interests. You know what you don't like. You have to know what you expect of your partner because without doing those things, you create the resentment by being agreeable, by just naturally resorting to saying yes. Because if you don't truthfully know what you want and truthfully understand yourself, you're going to constantly start to agree in things that you don't actually consent to or that you enjoy because you don't know what you want. And that creates the problem. So the problem resides in you. And that's why they don't work out. And that's why people say you have to find yourself before you can date somebody. And I think that's the people always hear that, but they don't understand why, and that's why. Because if you don't know what you want, then you can never. Your partner has no chance. They have no chance at fulfilling your happiness, basically. And
Yep.
I don't know. That's a huge point that people don't. They just kind of glide over, I guess.
Yeah, your partner isn't gonna be a mind reader. So
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you don't even know what your mind is saying, then
Like
how
how are they
know?
supposed to succeed? How is your partner supposed to succeed?
How are
Right?
they gonna succeed
It's
with
so
you?
sad
Yeah.
because like I used to like do life coaching, and I had many people come to me about their relationships, and I'm like you don't have the fundamentals down. You cannot have a successful relationship without fundamentals. Like you won't
Yeah.
just because you touch their penis and it felt good and you're like, oh, let's date now. Like that's not gonna you can't
It's not
create a
good
relationship.
enough.
That's not the foundation you need. You need a foundation because relationships. And penis touching unfortunately isn't a good foundation for a healthy relationship. So I mean that's basically been a lot of people's issues when they came to me, and then I've always like, and I wonder why it's not working out. And I wonder why every relationship you have fails. It's you don't know what you want.
Yeah.
And I think it takes more than just saying I know what I want. You have to like prove it to yourself too, by either sticking up for yourself
And
or
communicate it.
right. You have to be able to
You have
communicate
to-
it.
Yeah. Be very clear about it.
Mm.
Man.
You have to know who you are too. Like I'm reading a book right now called Clarity and Connection. It talks about like you have these tendencies since you were a kid to um how you react to certain things and how like what strategies you choose in life. Like
Mm.
do you like blow up when something makes you mad, or are you shy, or do you avoid conflict? And like you will bring those tendencies to relationships, and they will happen over and over and over again unless you know that you have a tendency to like get quiet whenever you feel
Kind of
hurt.
like the why does everybody always do this to me
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And it's not something you choose. Like it might be part of like your parents or like the school you grew up in. Like, but if you don't know that about yourself, you'll never be able to change it, and you'll always be wondering like, why am I failing at trying to make friends or being in a relationship? And it's like, dude, because
Oh yeah. Being
there's some
self-aware.
behaviors about you
Yeah.
that like you can, if you just knew about, you can change. Maybe you're, like you creep people out. You can, if you knew that, you could like change that about you.
Do you think it's a
Being, like,
mindset thing?
Having humility and like knowing that you may not
Humility.
be the perfect
That's how
person you
that's what
think you
I was gonna
Yeah.
get to.
Sure.
Basically, it's like a mindset
Yeah.
thing, right? It's like a
That too.
Yeah.
stop looking at outwards and look more inwards kind of thing. On like kind of
Right,
what are
inwards.
these
See
problems,
yourself how other people
Yeah.
see you.
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
What would you guys do? You guys like have you been like in like a really long relationship before? What do you? I feel like sometimes when I'm like when I talk about people in their relationship problems and like, oh, how long have you been dating for? And like 2 weeks. I'm always like,
Oh my God, yeah.
Like you don't even know what's coming next, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of like
Oh my
attitude I
God.
get. It's like an ignorance kind of thing. But what's like the shortest relationship you guys have been in before?
3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
That's
I wouldn't even
tragic.
count that. I wouldn't even
That's
count that as a
tragic.
relationship.
No,
Holy
I
shit.
don't count anything that's like under a year. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't count anything under a
Yeah.
year. That for me personally,
Yeah.
that's like
I
my.
had
the way
a
count.
girlfriend for like a month, and I don't really consider it.
Yeah,
like,
I
an
think
actual thing.
usually we get those relationships. It's always like I'm like, might really work out. It's like kind of like
Yeah.
like take it on the chin kind of thing.
Yeah, there wasn't really like anything, so it's like whatever. I'll just,
My shortest was
whatever.
2 days, so I'm in the
2
same
Your
boat.
days.
shortest was 2 days.
2 days,
Yeah.
2
Damn.
days. Yeah, I didn't end something with a girl I'd previously in, and that caused a lot of problems in the relationship. So I was like, oh god, this is too much. I mean, basically,
Oh
yeah,
no.
disaster.
Well,
It's always like such a tragic thing too, because it's like, man, like things could have worked out or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always find myself laughing at those kind of things. This is like you gotta learn something from it, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
at least you didn't
story
get. At
point.
least it wasn't dealing with cheerleaders, Kuro. That 3-day one
Cheerleaders?
was
Story time? Plus crop.
wa-
Story
Cheerleaders?
time.
I used to. I was a football player back in high school, and I had a crush on this
Oh right,
girl.
the
She
football
was-
playing CS:GO Army Man, as EBR. I forgot.
But I used to be that one person. I was like, yo, I want to get in a relationship with a cheerleader, and I hung out with her, and then like we were talking and stuff, and then it was at this time at the beach. My homie, he's like, hey, hey, I was wondering, he's like, do you like him? And she's like, maybe. And
Uh-huh.
it just lasted for 3 days because this is what happened. She said I was being too clingy, and I was like always around her, but I wasn't really always around her. It's just like, you're at school, you're gonna walk by them constantly through
Yeah.
the
Right.
hallway. You're gonna see them because they're in your class or something. And they said we're done because they didn't feel they're like, this is too much for me, and I didn't like that. And within those 3 days, the entire cheer team actually hated me. Like
Oh,
and then after 3 days,
Well, they talk
after
to each
three
other.
days,
Yeah.
they also they
Mm.
gossip. But here's the other thing: their entire coaching staff literally went up to me and it's like, "Hey, I don't like what you're doing right now, and I don't want you to go back to like anywhere near the cheerleaders." And I was like, "Who are you again,
That's
buddy?
dramatic.
Like
Yeah, that's
what?"
dramatic.
What
the
I mean,
the?
I'm like, I feel like
Yeah.
I'm like that with my friends though. I feel like, okay, actually, that's different. Like if you guys had like a friend who like dated somebody and then that person hurt them, are you like one of those people that's like freaking fangs out at that person, or are you like, oh, I'll let myself experience them for me? Because I had a friend who went through something with another girl, and like when that happened, I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
bitch. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like,
No,
like I'm
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like this bitch. Like, I don't
No,
know.
I
Have
get
that
it.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So
I guess
I
it
don't,
depends. It
yeah.
depends on like I don't know what actually the story is, and
Hmm.
like I don't know if I can piece together
I feel
what
like
actually
regardless, I
happened.
naturally just fall towards like siding with my friend no matter what. Like it's a biased thing, but like,
Yeah, but
I
that's like
just
what separates friend groups, you know.
sure, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
That's actually you're right.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do
Yeah.
want to be sort of open to like the fact that maybe they just didn't get along together, but it
Right.
depends on what like actually went down.
Like
If it's
coincided.
like really
Yeah,
Oh,
bad,
sure.
right.
Yeah.
then then sure I'll pick a side. If it's like something that I actually feel like morally like righteous about.
Hmm.
Mm.
Do you guys think that do you know like the whole like so before I started like VR chat and stuff, I kind of like already knew like I was into guys, but in like a weird way, not in a way of like I love penis, but in a way of like I connect better with guys than I do girls, if that makes sense. um
Yeah.
like just not just like spiritually, but like emotionally, like I feel like I'm able to talk to guys better than I am girls.
Yeah.
And I think like the whole like idea of like, well, who's easier to date, a guy or a girl, kind of question.
Mhm.
Where do you guys stand on that? I guess like Jack's, I don't, you're straight, so that doesn't really like fall into your
Kind
department.
of kind of stuck.
Yeah. But, you think girls are crazy?
Tough life. Plead the fifth.
What do you think, Sweet?
It's tough
Who's
because
easier to like to talk to? I guess.
there's
Like,
some
I guess that makes.
yeah, it's such a black and white. Like, there's some girls who are just like super tomboyish, and like
Mhm.
I really like them because I dig with them, and I dig them, and they can play video games, and they can get into
Mhm.
VRC and
I feel like I've
hang with
always been like
guys.
tomboy girls too.
You like Tom?
I feel like
Yeah,
that's
like
been my
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 ex.
like I've never been like such a big fan of like girls like afraid of spiders or like super like cutesy. Like I don't know. I've never really been in that area. I've been like I'm
Oh.
much more like appealed to a girl who's like a jerk. Like kind of just like I don't
Like
know
you
if that
can
makes
wrestle
sense.
or you like fight or
Sure,
something with
sure.
them.
That isn't
You know?
afraid to like freaking man spread if you're just like watching a movie. You know what I mean? Like I think that's like a good
Sure.
summarization, I guess, in
Mm.
general.
Yeah, I guess it's personality and
Right.
just
But it still like
mutually
sides
attracted.
towards more like I guess like in a black and white way, but more like towards like a boy, right? Wouldn't it side
Yeah,
still more towards
like
like a boy
maybe
side?
masculine traits,
Masculine
I
traits, sure.
suppose.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But also some feminine too, like right, like you want just like a manly man in a girl's body or whatever.
Mhm.
At least for me, it's like they have to have like a sensitive side, and
Sure.
they have to be into people and be caring and empathetic. So I guess for me, it's like those traits
I think
are
it's like
really
all about that
important.
comfortability thing, right? Where like you have to really
Yeah.
comfortably like talk like about them or around them about like your feelings. Because if you're not like comfy around your partner or whatever, then you're not gonna be able to be open about things, right?
Mhm.
Nope. That's sort of like how my last relationship like devolved was
Mhm.
because we started to like be like less we realized that our like desires for like what the relationship would be were sort of
Mm.
like separating, and then we
Mhm.
started to like trust each other with that kind of level less and less, and then it was just like, okay, we'll just break up.
Mhm. I think one of the saddest breakups that happen is, and this is the first one I experienced, is when your life goes different ways. that's like the worst, like the saddest one. It's just like man, like you guys are like really good together,
Oh
but like
yeah,
you just
like it
have
could've
different
worked out.
these different lives.
Yeah.
You know, it just
Yeah,
does. There's
that's
like no
rough.
particular formula that would have like solved anything. It's like you just have
Mhm.
different lives. Like you're both going down entirely different worlds. I've seen that happen before. It's just like really tragic. I don't know. It's just like it's always like a man. Like if things would have just like lived closer or whatever, like it would have worked out. But like I always like see myself like relating to that, I guess, because my first relationship was like that. You know, she was gonna be like a city girl, and I was like more like a dude who just was gonna work part-time jobs forever, and I didn't want to live in the city. It just kind of like, you know, it devolved in that way. Yeah, those are always like tragic to me. I don't know. I always feel like there's like some sort of solution in there, but neither of them kind of find it, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, you can't
Mm.
find it. That's rough.
Yeah.
There's like the hope like hurts because you know that it's like
Right?
there,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
can't get
for
it.
sure, for sure.
Hmm.
All right. It is we're at an hour 46 in, so we're gonna be start wrapping up soon. Azzy. By the way, guys, so you know, I didn't say this in the beginning. How the fuck did I not say in the beginning? Ron was supposed to be here today. But Ron's PC, if you guys are in his Discord, he's been complaining about all day. It's like super fudged up. But hopefully we'll have him next week. But yeah, Azzy came in like I literally messaged him like freaking 15 minutes before the podcast time. I was like, hey, emergency, come on the
Yeah.
show.
That's awesome.
So he came on the show like last minute.
Yay.
So thank you, Azzy, for coming on. Let me play a little freaking happy clip
Yes.
for you. Ready? Thank you, Azzy, for coming on. Woo!
Oh,
Last second came on the
yeah.
show. It was great to have him on. Always a treat. I think Jax, this is your third show, right? So you've been on literally half of the
third,
half of the podcast.
think.
And
Yeah,
last
This is
time
my
we
third
had
one
I-
as
I like
well.
it.
Half
Yeah.
of the podcast.
that's the
always
third
have
one
fun.
too. So both of you guys have been on three
Yeah.
shows. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll start the closing show. So if anyone has any anything they want to ask, any questions, you can either put Sweet's name, my name, Jax's name, or Azzy's name into the chat box and type your question, and I'll read out loud to them. But Jax, Azzy, thank you guys for coming on the show and sharing your stories, talking about your opinions on relationships and stuff like that. It was fun to pick your brains for a while. Today was definitely much more of like a
Serious.
serious opinionated vibes.
Yeah.
So
I liked
it's
it,
good.
though.
Yeah, it was good to
Mhm.
dive deep down a rabbit hole of, because I feel like you know, relations are something that people are always afraid to talk about. You know, it's always like
Yeah, they're tough to
oh
talk
man,
about,
is
yeah.
this person gonna be mad at me? Is someone gonna now know
And we
everything that I
even
like?
did have points where we were like, we probably shouldn't talk about this.
Sure, yeah,
but
no,
it was,
sure.
like,
I
it
think
was
it's
cool
all
that
to
we
you
got
to
that.
know exactly what it's good, okay
Yeah.
for you to say, right, and what you're
Yeah,
comfortable,
yeah.
and, you know, stuff like that. It's not like, you know, you putting anyone on blast or anything, kind of
No.
guesses, but you know. But yeah, if you
Yeah,
guys
the
have any
conversation
questions,
flows.
please put the name of the person you want to ask a question. Throw any question you want in there. Thank you guys for all the subs today. I saw there's a lot of subs and a lot of follows. Thank you guys so much. Index podcast number 6. Nice show. Great to have you guys on again. You guys want to come back
Let's
again for
go.
another time at some point?
No, never again.
Never again. Yeah, that's what I
That
thought.
sucks.
I'm done.
Yes.
Start sending me cat pictures now.
Yeah, I start to freaking.
I mean,
Well, it's good to know I can call Azzy last second and be like, dude, I need you.
I was driving, bro. I was
Yeah,
driving when
holy
you
shit.
messaged me. Thanks.
we gotta
Yeah.
get you
Yeah, just, so
both
you,
after
just so
this.
you know for the future, you definitely cannot because I'll just be at work, still working. I always leave work early for specifically.
Oh,
For
you think work
this.
early? Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that you're freaking dedicated.
Yeah.
You're
I don't want to be here.
dedicated to
Yeah.
the show. Yeah, I
Mhm.
appreciate that a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. So those of you guys who are in the Friends Club this Friday, there's a talent show. So if you guys want to stop by for that, that is at 9 p.m. on Friday. If you're looking to sign up, you can do !talent show. And you can come and see the show if you want to come watch. If you're coming to watch, make sure you're either in an invisible avatar or in a optimized avatar, so that way there's no lag or anything. And if you're in the show, the sign up form is in my Discord. If you do Discord or !talent show, either one of those, you guys can have that there. Thank you again, Mike or Charlie for giving us up. Thank you. Great to see Jackson and Azzy again. It's always a great time when they
Charlie
join
crazy.
podcast. Thanks to Azzy for pulling through in the last minute. Yeah, freaking Azzy the legend.
Mm.
Our first podcast was a
Indeed.
3-man though. Our first podcast we did was 3 people.
Yeah.
So that was like that was like, I don't know how we made that work. I think with 4 people it's so much more engaging. I don't know.
Yeah, there's more people to
Yeah.
talk to, and there's more stories to share as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I like 4 for sure.
Mm,
Yeah, 4 is
That's
definitely
good.
comfy. Yeah.
mhm.
Sweet, this is for you. This is from Hoyd. Hoyd says, Sweetie, was there ever a comfy breakup for you? I imagine they meant to put comfy.
Comfy?
Like a comfy
Comfy?
breakup. I guess like a good breakup. is the question. I'm not
Oh,
sure if Hoyden, is that what you mean?
yeah. I mean, the last guy was with like we just kind of stopped talking, but then later on, like he made me his mod and like we're friends and stuff.
Hmm.
So that was kind of comfy. That was the same guy
I feel like I
who
wouldn't
like
use the word comfy for a breakup. 'Cause I feel like I would never
yeah,
call a breakup
no.
comfy,
It's not
but
comfy.
I
But then
understand
again,
what
it's
you mean.
gray.
Like a
Yeah,
comfortable
it's
breakup, where
Mutual?
it's like a
Yeah,
mutual, you
mutual
know,
is a better word.
sincere breakup.
Oh,
Sure, comfy. I
because
don't
my
know.
my
Yeah.
divorce was comfy, I guess, as comfy as it could get.
No, you're good. You're
'Cause
good,
like
Hoyd. It's all good.
that could have ended really bad, like 50% of my assets and
Sure.
all that stuff as a guy
Sure.
in the US.
Oh, right,
But
right.
yeah, so we just kind of parted ways and signed a little thingy, and that's how comfy it was. So, but
Thank you for the question,
yeah.
Hoyd. Again, if anyone has any
Thank
questions,
you.
you can at anybody in here. Jax, Azzy, myself, and Sweet. Well, don't at myself, at Kuro. Yes, whatever you want. It could be related to the topics today. It could be related to anything. Maybe you could ask, like, you know, what Sweet shoe size is, so you can get an idea of.
Oh.
I mean,
Okay, what's the shoe size?
You want to get an idea of what?
nothing.
11.
That's
It's 11.
Kira.
11?
Ah!
Okay. 11. Ooh,
Yeah, the same they say.
that sounds like a really good shoe size. Really like that's the first time you've seen your eyes open. What the heck?
Yeah, Sweet's a freaking cat. It's a comfy cat.
That's so funny.
Jax. The
Holy
first
shit.
time.
Not the first
Oh my
time, but
gosh.
like in this time. Took me by
I'll give you guys another
surprise.
minute or so for
Nah.
questions. I'll give you guys another minute or so for questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
Mm.
Favorite fruit for everyone and why? I
Oh.
like my favorite fruit. You guys go first. I don't gotta think.
Pineapple.
Why? I
Oh,
want to know and
why?
why.
Because it tastes good and it has good effects.
Oh,
I'll take the
Oh.
banana.
I was gonna say that's yours now. That's yours now. Jesus.
hey, you're using pineapples there, Jax.
Yeah, I'll take the banana. The pause is fucking perfect.
Azzy, what about you? What's your
Everyone's
favorite?
like,
What's your favorite?
beep, beep, boop.
What's your
Can I
favorite?
ask you who is asking the question now?
Astro Keen.
Okay, soft tacos.
So
Wait, what?
It's a fruit?
Anyway,
Your favorite
sweet.
fruit?
Wait,
Anyway, Sweet.
Strawberries, because they're red and sweet, I guess. That's it.
Mine's probably a plum, even though I don't have them very frequently. It's either a plum or a peach. Both of those are really freaking good. I like either of those. Super slept on.
Plums.
Oh, like
Um,
pomegranates. Those are also
Or
really good.
Pomegranates, dude. I hate
Pomegranates.
pomegranates. They're freaking so
They
seedy.
taste so
They're
good.
no, but they're
Weird.
messy. They're messy when you
That's
when you
true.
crack 'em
Sure,
up.
yeah.
They look so cool, though.
Kuro, why don't you like broccoli? I don't like broccoli because DBL likes broccoli. There you go. That's my
I
answer.
like Nice.
That's my answer. Plums are good. Plums are freaking delicious. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll wrap it on up here. Jax, Azzy, it's always a pleasure to have you guys on the show. Thank you for coming by. It was awesome to have you here, Sweet. Thank you as
Yay.
always.
Let's
Chat,
go.
thank you guys for being here. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll catch you next week. I don't know who's going to be here next week, but it's definitely be Ron and someone else. So thank you so much for coming by. Guys, have a great night.
Bye,
Oh.
chat.
Bye.